Hey, we're on. We're live.
We're on. We're live.
Hello, Aridi. Welcome. Are you taking the SAT tomorrow?
Oh, we're gonna do some math. Hey, encryption.
Do some math, please. Oh my gosh. You think we're not going to do math? Is that what they think?
That's what everybody's been saying.
That's absurd. Not only are we doing math, we are doing so much math. Let's get this grind DDD. That's right. We will get that grind DDD. How's everybody doing today? It's Cram Session day. SATs tomorrow. Get excited. We're excited. This is what we look forward to. This is what we live for.
We live for this.
Yep. When we were both young children and we heard about the SAT and ACT as these college admissions tests, we were like, wait, really? That sounds
This is
awesome.
why I was born.
Yeah, exactly.
We were
and
just
we
like
just knew.
that.
We knew. Watch out. Come on.
What?
You got my head.
I didn't. Oh, did I really?
A little bit.
Oh.
That's why I was like, watch out.
Oh, that explains that.
Yeah.
Look, I wasn't born for this. I was born for SAT.
Big time. Big time. Okay. Some SAT math.
Yeah.
huh?
What do you want, Aridi? What's up?
You want the good stuff? What do you want? A lot of formulas we can go over.
What do you need?
We want to give you what you need. The fuel.
Geometry. Okay, very good. Geometry.
Geometry. I love
You want
geometry.
triangles. You want not triangles. Do you know n minus 2 times 180 and what that means? Do you know the triangle inequality theorem?
Do you know special right triangles?
Do you know unspecial right triangles? Do you know types of right triangles? Do you know slopes, distance, midpoint, perpendicular? What do you know? What do you not know?
Well, they don't know what they don't know.
That's true.
So that's not really
So
gonna
we're just
help.
listing stuff maybe.
Circles. Right. Okay. We got geometry. This is going to be great. So, first off, let's make sure that everyone knows. Wow. Really? You think it's dead?
Yes.
I've never seen this before. This thing is just dead.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, it's like a little.
It's dead, dude. Is that going to work?
No, it's dead.
That's just your saliva.
Yeah, it looks good.
Saliva word. Lick it. They said lick it. Yeah, right.
That's what the.
Okay, what I was going to say is it's Cram Session day. This must be on the board. We've already crammed so much today.
We have.
Yeah, you guys have already learned so much. That's really a pathetic cram sesh that they just wrote.
It's okay. It's crammed in there.
I know.
Tight.
It shouldn't be crammed like that, though.
Got it.
Oh, gosh. Let's make this thing dry out. Cram Sesh! Brought to you by Tight Bond Wood Glue, because Levi and I have a tight bond. I don't know if we should do the fake sponsorships now that we actually have a real sponsor.
No, we should.
Kind of waters down the real sponsor.
I think it's important.
Okay. So we want to do triangles and circles because those are pretty important. Let's start with the kinds of triangles that you might have. You got 3 different kinds you got to know. Okay. So you got equilateral. You got isosceles. And you got scalene. And all these types have to do with how many sides match each other. Okay? I should probably write that we're talking about triangles. For all of you that are just joining us. So, woo. Triangles. With a accent on the E. Equilateral. All sides are equal. If all sides are equal, all angles are equal. They're all 60 degrees. Okay? And it looks like this. Perfect triangle right there. Side, side, side. 60 degrees. 60, 60. Okay? We'll come back to that. Isosceles. 2 sides match. Meaning that the third one does not. Okay, now 2 sides match, that means the 2 angles that they're opposite also match. Come down here. I'm going to draw it like this. So these 2 sides match, which mean that the angles that they are opposite are going to match. Okay? Very good. Scalene, none match. None match. You got something like, I don't know, like, whoa. I want to make sure that it, yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, none of those things match. Fantastic. Okay, now the way to tell what kind of a triangle you have, well, that's kind of obvious. Look at the side lengths. Pythagorean theorem you can only use for right triangles. You cannot use it for any other kind of triangle that's not right. These all refer to the different side lengths. So these are classifications based on side lengths. But there's also classifications that are based on angles. Okay? So let's make another classification. We have angles. You could have a right triangle, which means it has a 90-degree angle. All right? The other sides are not going to be 90 degrees. The other angles can't be. As soon as you have one 90-degree angle, the fact that all angles add up to 180 means that if you had another 90-degree angle, that would finish it. Two angles, one and done. I guess two and done, which would not make sense because you need a third angle. It's got to be something. So that means you have one 90-degree angle. If you have an obtuse triangle, that means that you have one obtuse angle. Obtuse meaning greater than 90. If you had two obtuse angles, they would mean that you're over 180 already, with just with two angles. So you can only have one obtuse angle. But you don't have to have an obtuse angle in a triangle. But if you do, it's called an obtuse triangle. And then, of course, you have acute triangles, where all angles are acute. I'm going to use actual notation here. So you might have an acute scalene or a right isosceles. You can match these things up, and they give you a better view into what kind of triangle you have. Now, let's see if we can figure out, a lot of times they give you three different side lengths, and they say, what kind of a triangle is this? Or which one of these is it not possible for this to be a triangle? And there's a couple of things that you want to think about here. Let's say that we had, three side lengths, 6, 8, and 11. The question was, is this a acute, is this a right, or is this an obtuse triangle? Here's what you do. You want to do Pythagorean theorem and see if it works. That's sort of the starting point here. So we have a squared plus b squared is supposed to equal c squared, and we'll see if it does. And if not, then we'll adjust. So a squared, that's going to be 6 squared, 36, plus 8 squared is 64, is equal to 11 squared, which is going to be 121. So we have 100 is equal to 121. Is that true, Levi?
Yes.
No, it is not.
No, it's not.
No, it is not.
It's not true.
We're going to put a pink cross through there, okay? If they were equal, you'd have a Pythagorean theorem. Hey, Arini, you gave us a bit. 1 bit. Good. That was delicious. That was just me eating 1 bit.
You're delicious.
So it's not a right angle. It can't be, right? If they all fit together in Pythagorean theorem, that proves that there is a right angle in the triangle. But what kind of triangle is this going to be? Here's what you want to think about it. Your hypotenuse, so to speak, even though we don't have a right triangle, your hypotenuse, it would not be the right word for it. Your longest side length is 11. Think about this. Is it too big to be a right triangle, or is it too small? 121 is too big. It's supposed to only be 100. Knowing our two smaller side lengths, our third side should end up giving us 100 when we square it, but this is too big. So 11 is too big. So if our third side is too big, think about what that would do to the angle. We have a right triangle like this, but then our third side, which is normally our hypotenuse, was suddenly made a little bit longer. What would happen to this angle right in here? It would have to break open a little more. To account for this third side getting larger, the angle opposite has to match it and also get larger. Okay? There is a close relationship between all the side lengths of a triangle and the angles that they're opposite. The largest angle is opposite the largest side, the smallest angle is opposite the smallest side, the most middle angle is opposite the most middle side. That's just sort of how it works. So if our third side is too big, this is going to be bigger than 90 degrees. If we had to like adjust this and make this just a little bit bigger, suddenly we'd have to have a new side that goes like this to get there. And therefore, we'd be breaking open our right angle and it'd become bigger. So therefore, these side lengths constitute an obtuse triangle. They're obtuse, and also none of them are the same length, so they are also scalene. So this is an obtuse scalene triangle right there, okay? If your third side, if c squared is too big, it's obtuse. If it's too small, you've got an acute triangle, okay? But if it's exactly equal to a squared plus b squared, you have a right triangle. So that's how that works. Now let's talk about the triangle inequality rule, because that's also one of my favorites. I'm going to erase this down. Ba, 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 ba. Yes. Absolutely. You can just throw it on my tab. I'll take that one to go. Please put that in a doggy bag. Check, please. I'll have what she's having. Put that in a doggy bag. A bag for a dog. I'm going to feed this bag to my dog when I get home. Because he's hungry, and I don't buy dog food. I just feed him human food. It's a new song. I think, who's singing that? Is that Ariana Grande? I think it's an Ariana Grande song.
Yeah.
It's called Doggy Bag.
Oh, we just got a one dog cheer.
Hey! We got reading! Another bit! Thank you. That tasted very, very good. Come on, board. Finish drawing. I wanted to get the triangle inequality rule. I love it.
Can I do it?
You want to do it?
Yes, I want to do it.
All right, man. Have you finished your post?
No.
Oh, well, you got to keep doing that.
As I expected. No. I got to do this.
Okay.
And then we do have a Discord question.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a trapezoid question.
Oh,
I forget who posted it. Hey, whoever posted the trapezoid question on the Discord, can you say hi? I think it was Parse, maybe?
Hey, encryption! Thank you. Tastes great. Levi, you got to get on these bits. Man.
You just ate them all.
I said. Get on these bits.
Okay, what am I doing? Triangle inequality rule.
Yeah, triangle inequality.
Okay, so let's start with the triangle with side lengths 1, 2, and 3. Brady, are we going to have a problem here?
Yes.
What's the problem? Don't tell me. That's okay. You can tell me.
Can I tell you?
Yes.
Problem is, such side lengths would actually not make a triangle. It is physically impossible, geometrically impossible. There is a limit.
If we have a side length right here of 3, this is the first side of the triangle. It's the biggest side. And then we're trying to get from this point and then make a triangle down here to get back to this point. But we have a 1 and a 2. So we're going to have a problem because if we have a 1 and then we have a 2, and like those are the two side lengths, and we're trying to make them go out and then back to that end, it's not going to work because you need all of 1 and 2 to get from this point to this point that's 3 units away. So that's not big enough, right? You need at least 3.000000 whatever 1 to be able to have side lengths that are going to have a side of 3. So, or the largest side of 3. So what that means is the two smallest sides of the triangle have to be, the sum of them have to add up to greater than that third side. I hope that makes sense. Please ask me if that doesn't make sense. So there's the 3, 4, 5 triangle, right? And this works for any triangle. It doesn't have to be right. But a 3, 4, 5 triangle is a right triangle. And this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. And we know it can be a triangle because if you take 3 and 4 and you add them up, it's more than 5. So if you have side lengths S1, S2, and S3, where S3 is the biggest side, it doesn't, like any of those side lengths, it has to be that S1 plus S2 is greater than S3. This is the triangle inequality theorem. If this is not the case, it's not a triangle. Now, this is not a particularly difficult concept, I don't think, but it's very esoteric, and it's just not something you've thought about since if you learned it when you took geometry, which probably isn't what you're taking right now. So it's been a while. They will just ask a straightforward question about this. I've never seen a question that incorporates this idea. It's more just, here's the thing, here are options. Can these be triangles?
This is only half of it, though.
Which part do you want?
Well, there's a limit. So you're saying that the third side has to be less than the 2 added up?
Any side, like any...
No, yes.
Yeah.
But there's also a lower limit as well.
Yeah.
So it's a two-sided inequality.
Do you want that one too? Or you can do it.
So like...
If you have a different color.
I got a different color.
No, you don't. That's pink.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I have a different color. I'm not going to necessarily use it. Right.
That makes sense.
So if you think about, like, you got your two sides, 3 and 4. All right? Best case scenario, if you want your third side to be the longest possible, you want 3 and 4 to be as close to 180 as possible, which is what you were going for here. In which case, you'd get very, very close to 7, but you couldn't actually get to 7. these two things need to be larger than 7 if you're going to have a third side of 7.
Mm-hmm.
But the opposite is if you close up this angle right here, there is a limit for how small your third side could get. So if that's 3 and that's 4, this side here cannot be any smaller than 1. In fact, it has to be greater than 1. Because the difference here, if this is 3 and this is 4, this right here, it has to be larger than 1. Because if it's exactly 1, that means that this angle is totally closed up. And it's become 0 degrees, which means it's a line, which means it's no longer a triangle. So if this is side 3, I usually say that if you have A and B, and then C is the side that's like side 3. C has to be less than A. I'm sorry, it's between. So you have A minus B has to be less than C, which has to be less than A plus B. So it's from the perspective of the third side. It has to be greater than their difference, and it has to be less than their sum.
For any individual side.
Yes, any individual side.
Yeah, what this is saying is the biggest side has to be less than the sum of the two smaller
Right,
ones.
so you got this part.
But this is for any side.
Right, but there's also this as well.
But I'm assuming that C is the biggest side. So you don't need this. Because if it's the biggest side, of course it'll be bigger than that difference.
Yeah, sure, but you wouldn't know necessarily if they want you to test the largest side versus something else, right?
Well, that's what you're testing. Or you just take the biggest one. It does. I think the concept is still there.
So you could always start with the two smallest sides and
Yeah.
see if the larger side is possible.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Take the small sides. This is a very small idea, also.
Yeah.
I've never seen more than one question on it.
Yeah, they usually give you a bunch of like triplets and say which one is not a triangle,
Right.
or which one is a triangle. Okay, interesting. So basically, I've been overdoing it.
I think so. It's a more robust thing. I mean, I didn't explain that, or I didn't write out that the third side has to be the biggest, but we're just taking the biggest.
Right.
You want to do? Ooh, yoy, yoy. That could have been bad. That could have broken everything.
We're good. Could have broken the wheel of time. I mean, broken the world.
My heart is racing.
All right, let's draw this trapezoid. I'm gonna have to take a look at all the triangle inequality questions I've seen and see if that one thing is adequate. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's adequate. Because if that doesn't work, then
And the sides
first
have to
thing
be
doesn't
greater
work
than
either.
0, I guess.
right, yeah, that's always
Right.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, sure.
Why not?
Right.
Charmed, I'm sure. I'm Gil Faizan. Okay, so we
Ooh, what was
have
that?
A.
That little burp.
We got B. I don't know. We
Oh,
got
okay.
C. We got
Yeah.
D. We've got a right angle here, and it says in the quadrilateral above, AD. Sorry, AB. Sorry, AD. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Anthony Davis.
That's right. Anthony Kiedis.
Right.
AD is parallel to BC, and CD is equal to 1/2 of AB. The question is, what is the measure of angle B? Very good. Okay, so here's a general rule of thumb. If there's not a picture and they're describing something that could be a picture, draw a picture. If there is a picture and they give you additional information that's not already labeled on the picture, label those things on the picture, all right? AD is parallel to BC. What does that tell me? I would draw it like this. Usually they designate it with these little arrows to show that two lines are parallel, okay? Now, if those two lines are parallel, I know, because CD is a transversal, that these two, if this is a right angle, this is also a right angle, right? That has to be. If there's a line that makes a right angle with one line and then it cuts through another line that's parallel to the first line, those both have to be. Do you always need pronouns for comparisons? The training time for the dog was longer than the cat. The training time for the dog was longer than that for cats. Levi, this is all you.
Yeah?
This is all you. Oh my gosh.
Wait. Do that and then I'll get to it.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second, Reedy. So I've taken care of that. CD is 1/2 of AB. Okay, so I'm going to call this, I'm going to call AB, we're going to call that X, and CD is half of that. So this is going to be X over 2. Okay? Now, I could set it up like X and X over 2, and I could also set it up as X and 2X. And as long as this side is half of that, then we're good. I actually kind of want to set it up as 2x because it's a little cleaner. So this is going to be 2x, and then this side here is going to be x. Okay? If anyone has any questions about what I just did and why I did that, please ask. I will let you know. But CD is 1/2 of line AB, so we're good. That's the second piece of information. The question is, what is this measure? Bam, right there. Well, a trapezoid is always a combination of a quadrilateral and a triangle. In fact, it's always a rectangle and a triangle. And sometimes it's let me think about this for a sec, it's a rectangle and two triangles. But a trapezoid has one set of parallel sides. These guys right here, they're called the bases. And it's always a good idea to break it up to find the smaller shapes inside to see if you can figure out anything about them. So I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to drop me a line right here. Now, what can I tell about that line that I just dropped? Well, if I make it parallel to CD, this is also going to be making right angles there and there. Okay? And that's just up to me. You know, as long as if you want to add your line to a geometrical picture, which is a lot of times the way that you can figure out how to solve something, just make sure that the line that you draw you're consistent with. You're following the geometrical rules. I want to draw a line that goes down at a right angle. If I didn't make it at a right angle, this problem would be very, very hairy. There'd be a lot of hair involved, and we wouldn't want that, okay?
So much hair.
So much hair. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so now that I have that, this x value I can put on this value as well. Because they're between two sets of parallel lines, and they're both equidistant because they're on these transversals. So this is also going to be x, okay? And now I have a right triangle, and I have side lengths x and 2x. I could use Pythagorean Theorem to figure out what this third side is, at least in terms of x, but it's not necessary because there's actually a special right triangle here. And this is at the very beginning of the math section on the SAT. They give you a bunch of formulas. One of the formulas they give you, well, there's two formulas, are for special right triangles that are the 45-45-90 triangle and the 30-60-90 triangle. So let me quickly draw those. The 45-45-90 triangle is an isosceles right triangle. So these two sides are the same, which means that these both have to be the same. And if they both are the same, they both have to add up to 45. Sorry, they must both be 45 because they add up to 90. Okay? So we got 45 and 45. So if those are the same, then their corresponding side lengths have to be the same as well. And your hypotenuse, if you do Pythagorean Theorem here, you've got x squared plus x squared is equal to c squared. So 2x squared is equal to c squared. Take the square root of both sides. And you get c is equal to x times root 2. So this is x times root 2. Okay, that's one special right triangle. Not what you need for this. This is the other special right triangle, which is a 30-60-90 triangle. And you'll see why I know that in just one sec. Okay, so the 30-60-90 triangle, so this would be the smaller angle, which is 30. This would be the largest angle, which is 60. The side that's opposite 30, we're going to call x. The side that's opposite 60 is x root 3. And then the side that is opposite the right angle, which is the hypotenuse, is going to be 2x. Okay, I see matching right now between x, 2x, x, 2x. Okay, there's only one kind of a triangle where one of the legs is half of the hypotenuse, or one of the angles has a sine of 1/2. For all you SOHCAHTOA trig nerds out there. The only way this is going to work is if it's a 30-60-90 triangle, because that's the only time that you have a ratio 1:2. Okay, so if that's the case, I know that A is the smaller of the two angles, which is going to be 30, which means that B is going to have to be 60. Now this would be our x root 3 side for all those that are interested. And so angle B is composed of two different angles. We've got the 60 that comes from this triangle here, then we have the right angle here. Both of those together comprise B. So overall B, the measure of angle B, is equal to 60 plus 90, which is going to be 150 degrees, which is pretty hot. Pretty hot out there. Not enough yet to boil water if you're in the Fahrenheit system, but if you're in Celsius, you've already boiled water like a little while ago. Right? Okay, leave.
Yes.
You want to get up there?
Yes.
Very good.
I do.
Very good.
I want to be so high up there.
Who asked this question again?
Aridi. Oh wait, no, Parth, somebody.
Parthenon?
No. Parthenon is not
I
a
will
person.
figure this out.
It is a non-sentient
Come on.
building.
This is parse.
Parse.
Do you know who parse is?
No, but
Okay.
I could probably figure it out by doing some sort of...
Parse, I hope you are watching, and I hope that helped. Oh,
What's that?
what's this?
Unless parse is reading. That's possible.
Please include the square. Ah.
Oh, we are going
Absolutely.
to complete that square. Yes.
Yeah, that square shall be completed. Have you posted yet on Reddit?
No, I'm trying. Okay, so Aridi, are you here? If you're still here, can you say hi? Ooh, sorry for punching the mic. I don't know if anybody heard that. Call us gentlemen.
Ah, I am a gentleman.
My mom calls me gentleman. She
What
doesn't.
What do you call your mom?
I call her mom.
Hello, a read word.
Hey, okay. So, do you always need pronouns for comparisons? Not necessarily. The training time for the dogs was longer than the cat, and the training time for the dog was longer than 4 cats, than that 4 cats, or that of cats, or whatever, however you want to use your prepositions there. Yeah, okay. This is about context. So this is a comparison. Comparisons and comparators and superlators, things like that.
Is that a word?
Superlator?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because would it be comparer?
Comparators and superlative.
I just comparative and superlative.
Anyway, it's about the context. So what are we trying to compare? We're trying to say that to train a dog takes longer than to train a cat. That's the comparison we're making. So you need to be careful of the grammar around the ideas that you're doing, because the one before the word than is going to dictate what the comparison is. Or actually, the one after is going to dictate what the comparison is. My bad, the one after. So if we say the training time for dogs is longer than cats. Okay, so the comparison here is going to be cats, right? In the way writing it this way, cats. But it doesn't quite work because this is just a noun. The training time for dogs is longer than cats. So we're doing a whole noun here, which means that we're actually saying the training time for dogs is longer than cats. So we're comparing a length of time to a cat, which doesn't work. You want to compare dogs to cats. So you need to say here 4 cats. Because that implies, because we are not trying to compare anything to cats. We're trying to compare the training time for dogs to the training time for cats. So the full sentence that would be the least ambiguous would be the training time for dogs is longer than the training time for cats. You don't have to say that, but the way to make it work in a little bit shorter of a way would be the training time for dogs is longer than 4 cats, or the training time for dogs is longer than that 4 cats, or that of cats, whatever it needs to be. To give you another example, if we say, I like brownies more than him. Okay? This is comparing to him. It's not comparing the amount I like. We want to say, I like brownies more than this other person likes brownies. But if we do it this way, then we're saying him is one of the comparisons. And if this is one of the comparisons, we're comparing, you're saying, I like brownies more than him. So that means I like him this much, and I like brownies more than that. That's not exactly how it works. So it's got to be, I like brownies more than he, or more than he does. Either way works. Okay? Unless you do want to say that you don't like him, you like brownies.
Ryan,
like that.
Great question. Creative problem solving. We're going to throw that up on the queue.
Does this idea make sense? It's about the grammar that dictates the comparison. So it's not about getting to the end of the sentence as fast as possible. Yes, you do care about being concise in the writing section of the SAT, but it's not as important as clarity. You need to be clear. And this is only clear with 4 cats, or that 4 cats, something like that, because those are the ideas that we're comparing. So read the sentence and figure out, it'll be easy to contextually know what the 2 things are that you're comparing, and make sure both pieces of the comparison are in the same grammatical structure. They parallel each other to show that specific comparison. Because here, we're saying something is longer than, if you don't have the word for, and you just say than cats, you're comparing the length of time to
There's nothing to read.
Ah!
Dude, there's nothing to read.
Siri.
Yeah. I never like it when she interrupts. So you just need to think about what the comparison is referring to. Yes, so you just need to think about to what the comparison is referring, and not necessarily about concision. Yes, these are almost always going to be comparison questions, not concision questions.
I gotta write this better. That's just not exciting at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you write it?
You have much better handwriting than I do.
That was pretty good handwriting.
Your
actually.
handwriting is better than me.
Right. So if you and that's also subject and object stuff. So this one, I like brownies more than him. This is definitely the wrong comparison because him does not like brownies. You would never say him likes brownies. You would say he likes brownies. So I like brownies more than he does, or more than he likes brownies. So this part of speech here, the change is with the pronoun being an object versus a subject.
We have a Discord down below the player. You can log on to that and ask us questions on that if you want to like send us a picture of a question, because that's a lot easier than you. If it's math, usually you need a picture. It's be difficult to explain or ask it on the chat. Okay, should I jump into completing the square?
Oh yes.
Very good. Do you want to create Cram Session and like fun letters up there?
Yeah, fine.
Hey, take that frown
and turn it upside down. Take that dirty clown frown right upside down. Cram Session. There you go. They used to call Jeff Sessions Jeff Cram Session.
They did. He was a big time crammer.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Politics.
Aridi, do you have any other clarification questions on that idea? Hey, Uncle Bill. What's up?
Uncle Bill.
Very good, Aridi.
Very good. Uncle Bill was the one that taught me how to play catch. Completing the square. Completing the square. Okay. So, just some context. Completing the square is something that you do to solve quadratics, okay? Your steps to solve quadratics, or at least what you should look for, very first thing you should try to do is factor, okay? If you can factor and the quadratic is factorable, then you're done, okay? If that doesn't work, then you move on to option choice 2 or 3, which comes down to like which one you have a little more fun with, which is either the quadratic formula or completing the square. All right? Or completing the square. Yeah, it sort of depends on which one you feel more comfortable with. So, here's what it looks like. Let me first give you, and yes, I'm on the wrong platform. Shoot me. Oh, he's on YouTube. We got someone on YouTube.
Do we?
Yeah, it's Uncle Bill. It's Uncle Bill.
Oh, that's right.
Let's start out with something. I want to show you what the goal is here. If we have something like x plus 3 squared is equal to 16. We want to solve this thing for x. Now, normally when you solve a quadratic, you make sure that everything has been multiplied out, and then you put everything onto the same side and set it equal to 0. You want to usually get it in a standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, this is not in that form, but it doesn't mean that we want to FOIL this, get everything on the same side, and put it in that form, okay? Because there's something really nice going on here, which is there is a square, and we can take the square root of both sides, okay? And that's going to get rid of our square in the first place. So if I take the square root of both sides, what's going to happen here is that's going to knock out the square, leaving us with just x plus 3. And then on this side, we're going to get plus or minus 4, all right? Take the square root of 16, you can take the plus or minus square root of 16. And now you just have to subtract the 3. So we're going to get x is equal to plus or minus 4 minus 3. And now let's take both options here. If it was positive 4 minus 3, that's going to give us 1. And if it was negative 4 minus 3, that's going to give us negative 7. Those are your two solutions. Let's see what messages we have here. Whoop. Or can you use a equals 2 for completing the square? Oh, does completing the square need to be in standard form like 1 for the a value? Same thing for quadratic formula. Does it need to be in standard form? Great questions, Ryan. In terms of circular equation, encryption, yes. Okay, a lot of good things here. Yeah, so completing the square is used for circular for circle graphs when they're not in standard form. Ryan, so far as I know, this is not like this is the very end of completing the square. The square has already been completed. I haven't actually shown you what is going to happen yet, but the whole point is to get it back into this form, and then you can take the square root of both sides. So, hey guys, let's all do our best tomorrow. Yeah, X on them. That's the spirit. That's absolutely the spirit. Let me show you what completing the square actually is, and then we'll show you how it works for circle equations, because that's usually where they want you to do it, okay? Let's give you this. Let's say we have
oh gosh, I don't know. X squared plus 4x plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay? Is this factorable? No, it is not. Okay, so if it was factorable, you don't want to have to do that. Here's completing the square. You want to find out, your first step is to get rid of the c value and move it to the other side. So subtract this 6 and get it to the other side. So you're going to have x squared plus 4x is equal to negative x. You need to figure out what number could go here to make this a square trinomial. Okay? And by a square trinomial, I mean this. Let's say that we had x plus 7 times x plus 7. Okay? We're squaring x plus 7, essentially. That's going to get us x squared plus 14x plus 49. This is a square trinomial because you can take the square root of it and you're going to get x plus 7. Okay? So this number 7, it doubles to become this number, and it squares to become that number right there. That's what you need to know. So it's like we're given the first part of a square trinomial, and then we don't have that third part. Reading tips, absolutely. We're going to throw that on the queue. Okay. Reading tips. Time to read the tips. So read the tips. Okay, so this number here, we have to figure out what was the original number inside parentheses that gave us this number here. Well, it doubles to become that, and then I'm going to put a little square here, and it squares to become that. So let's start with this. If we have 4x, what number doubles to become that? 2. So what you need to do is take half of that. You're going to get 2, and then you square that, and that's going to become the number here. All right, so you square that, becomes up here, and you have plus 4. Now, you can't just make a plus 4 out of nowhere, so you have to add it to the other side as well, okay? Okay, this is a square trinomial. We can now group it as its original factor, which is going to be x plus 2 squared is equal to, and this would give us negative 2. Okay, now something that's going to happen here is we're going to get an imaginary solution because we're going to have to take the square root of a negative number. We're at the point now that I was at over here. This is the fun part. This is when you can actually just take the square root and the square goes away forever. But getting here, does sector area or the angle when plugging into the sector area formula have to be in radians? No, it does not. It depends on, there's a certain formula that requires radians, but if you're just doing proportions, then it does not need to be in radians. You can have it in radians, though, as long as you put it over 2 pi. We can throw that on here. We're going to say circle ratios. Circle ratios. Okay, so, and then we have one more. Oh man, this is fantastic. I'm scared. 1 hour? 1 hour? No, we're on till 10:30 tonight. Is that what you're asking? Oh, my SAT's in 1 hour. Oh man. Yeah, hey, you got this. Don't be scared. Being scared, well, it's right. Your body is nervous for something because this is something that you know means a lot. So your feelings are valid, my friend. Okay.
Is now not a time?
What? To repress and dissociate?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't like the way you're feeling, Levi and I would both recommend repress and dissociate. Push down those feelings and then try to just make them go away completely.
Yes. Out-of-body experience for the test is ideal.
Yes, and then you will feel great.
Yeah. Okay, really don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Try to be very in your body for the entire test. But during the breaks, try to get out of your head, if that makes sense. Which does not imply banging it against the wall or something like that, but it does mean get out of your seat, get your blood flowing, run down the hallway, beat up the smartest looking kid in the room, that type of thing.
Wow. We do not condone violence here.
No.
We don't. Levi does, but we don't.
Yeah. Nerdist doesn't.
I do want to show you how this applies to a circle equation real quick.
Thank you for the follow.
Oh, you got a little follow?
Yeah, we got a little follow.
That's
from
Asia.
Fun. Asia's following us.
Wow. The whole continent?
The entire... Isn't it a country?
Asia?
Yeah. Oh, it's like a city.
It's a city.
It's a city. It's a small city.
It's a very small city.
It's a commuter town outside of a larger city.
Completely.
Yes.
The larger city of which is, of course...
Right. The Vatican.
Do you want to press the button?
Yeah. Vatican City. The country of the Vatican City.
The country of the Vatican City.
Thank you for the follow, JDMV.
Okay, here's how completing the square applies to the circle formula.
Ooh,
okay?
Double completing the square.
Very good. So, circle formula in standard form looks like this. Okay? So that when you see it, you can just pull out the important things. X minus 3 squared plus y plus 7 squared is equal to 64. H and K, remember, are the center coordinates of your circle. And then R is your radius.
and we're subtracting h and k. So here we're subtracting 3, so that must be our h value. We're adding 7, which means we must have been subtracting -7, and our radius is 8, because it's the square root of 64. That's great, okay? That's standard form. It's not always in that form. You have to actually put it in that form if it's not. Here's what it might look like if it was not in that form already. We would have something like, oh, geez, I don't know, x squared plus 6x plus, no, you know what? I'm going to make this even more difficult. X squared plus y squared plus 6x plus, we're going to say, okay, plus 12y, and we're going to set this equal to, and we're going to set it equal to 112. How about that? Fantastic, okay? And the question might be something like, hey, what's the radius? And you look at this and say, well, I know that on the right side it's usually r squared. Give a summary of the parabola, because, by the way, I forgot about studying that. Okay, parabola, we'll throw it on there. Good, our Q is getting very robust, Levi. I like a good, robust Q.
You're
Anyway,
a robust Q kind of guy.
absolutely, okay. We need to turn this back into that, because what must have happened here is it was in standard form, but then they foiled everything. They foiled everything, and then whatever numbers they got, they just pushed over to the right side, and they combined it with what was already there, which is radius squared, and it got very messy. So we have to complete the square to put them back into their original factors. So first thing we want to do is we want to group the x terms together and group the y terms together. So we're just going to move things around a little bit. X squared plus 6x plus blank. We don't know what that third thing is. We're going to have to complete the square there. Plus y squared plus 12y plus blank is equal to 112. Here's where completing the square happens, okay? You have to figure out what these constants are so that we can take the square of these, or the square root. So take half of the middle term. This turns to 3, and then you square it. And that gives you what's supposed to go here, 9. Take half of the middle term, that gives you 6. You square it, and then that gets you up to 36. But again, you can't just add 9 and 36 out of the blue to one side and forget about the other. You got to do the other side as well, okay? So I added in total 45. 9 plus 36 is 45, so I'm going to have to add 45 to this side as well, okay? Now when I group these, I'm going to have x plus 3 squared plus y plus 6 squared is equal to, I added 45, that's going to be 157. 157, not a great number, I'm sorry, okay? We've now put this into standard form, so if we want to harvest the radius, the right side is what is r squared. That's going to be our r squared, so our radius is just going to be the square root of 157, okay? That's what completing the square looks like in terms of the circle equation. Fantastic, okay. Next thing we got was creative problem-solving strategies. All right, here we go. Yes.
Got it.
You want to come up here for that?
What?
You want to come up here and talk about that?
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I thought I was just going to like lounge around and kind of mooch off of you.
Right.
Right, eat your M&Ms.
No. Oh, right.
Well, right.
Did you bring up type bond when you did the type bond thing?
I didn't. I should have. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Guys, this night is brought to you by Tite Bond Original Wood Glue, because Levi and I have a Tite Bond. You're supposed to say it.
Type bond.
Okay.
I didn't do good that time.
You'll get it next time. It's fine.
Do you think they'll pay us more next time?
Tite Bond?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're going to pay us in Tite Bond glue, which will just keep cementing our wooden friendship. Ooh, very good.
I like that.
Very good. Have you posted on Reddit?
I have.
Hey! You want me to upvote it?
Do you with encryption? Do you?
Yeah,
that would be pretty hip hop if you were into doing that.
You know what you're doing with creative math strategies?
Do I? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Creative math strategies. So, honestly, on a lot of questions, you won't be able to guess particularly effectively.
Ooh, talk about you want to do the written ones first, and then multiple choice.
Oh, yes. Very good. This is not necessarily creative. You should just do it. On the SAT Math, you have the multiple choice for both. So we have you have the multiple choice here, and then after that, you have the open-ended, right? You should do the open-ended first, because the math sections, both of them, early questions are easy, later questions are hard for the multiple choice, and then it starts over for the open-ended ones for both sections. So that means that if you run out of time, if you're one of those people that struggles on the math and you're running out of time, it's better if you start on the open-ended stuff, because then you'll finish that and then go to the multiple choice, and then if you run out of time, you're guessing on multiple choice, where you'll have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right, rather than in the open-ended, where you have a 1 in whatever the number of things you can put in there are, raised to whatever power of them times each other, or whatever it is. So start with the open-ended. Now, that doesn't mean that if number 38 on the calculator section is really hard for you, you should keep banging your head against that one before going to number 1 on the multiple choice. It's not that, but just work through and try to do the open-ended ones first, and then go to the multiple choice. I think that makes sense. Now, on a multiple choice question, if you have answers A, B, well, you will have answers A, B, C, D. And if the number here is 60, and the number here is 70, and this is 50, and this is 10, and you have some sort of thing where you could plug this in to whatever equation has an x in it, and you could figure it out that way, I would recommend starting somewhere in the middle. So let's say you start at 60, and then maybe, now be careful, let's say that 60 ends up being too big. Well, if 60 is too big, then you don't have to do 70. So then pick 50 or 10, whatever it needs to be. But this way, you're not plugging in so many values. I don't know what the O of n size of it is, but you have a better shot at not having to plug in as many values. Because if you start at 10 and then go blah, 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 you're not able to use the information that you're getting from a wrong answer.
Can we find an SAT question that we can try this with?
Oh, can we?
Let's see.
Oh, it's going to take a really long time to work through that. Oh, no, it's working. That's so fast. We might be lagging. Apologies if we are.
Wait, I'm pressing oh, you're right. No, I was just pressing return. It was going up and down.
Oh, okay.
This is taking way too long.
Yeah. Maybe you should go the other way.
Oh, my gosh.
At this point, it doesn't matter. It's just going to take a long time.
What's going to happen here? What's the other? Is there another thing loaded up? Or is there just only one?
There's just one.
This is just reading still. Oh my gosh.
You just got a long way to go, man. It's okay. Clicking a lot won't help at all, unfortunately.
Okay. Now, there is something else that you should consider with creative math solving strategies, which is if you have a problem that has variables in the question and then variables in the answer, you can pick your own value for that variable. And then as long as you match that with what happens in the answers, we should probably just show that what this looks like.
Yes, I'm sure there is one on test. This is test 4, by the way. It's okay, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Here, you talk. I will click the...
We're almost there.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Look at that formula sheet.
Oh, my gosh. What a formula sheet.
It's great.
It'll be one of the later-ish ones.
Okay. Yeah, not that. Okay. Ooh, that...
Oh. Well, that's not variable, but you could plug in there too.
For 10?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we can show them that. Actually, and that goes well with the calculator thing I'm going to show them.
Yeah, can you make it full screen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. My gosh, we have such a tight bond.
Yes. Very good. Take a look at number 10. You want to read that?
Yeah, just look at it. If this thing equals 10, what is the value of t? So they are saying, here's an equation, here's a t in it, and here are the possible values of t. If you don't know how to deal with this, and you don't know that, I have a variable in the denominator, that's the one I'm solving for, so I should take it out by multiplying by t minus 5. If you don't realize that, then you can just plug in these values and see which one works.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Very good.
Now, there's a way to do this on your calculator, okay? This is the fun part. Instead of writing, let's say, 45 over 11, that's annoying to write in your calculator. When you do that, you're going to want to write 45 over 11 in parentheses, and then you're going to have to do it again. So 45 over 11 plus 5 divided by 45 over 11 minus 5, that's kind of annoying, okay? Especially when the variable comes up even more often. Here's what you want to do. You can store a number in your calculator as x, and then use that button to solve equations. This is what I'm talking about. Let's say we want to try 5. Okay, here's what you do. On your calculator, you're going to write 5 on the home screen. Then there should be a button that says store. Okay, usually it looks like STO with an arrow. Sometimes it's just the arrow. Okay, it's a little arrow point to the right. You want to press that, and then you want to press your variable button, which on TI calculators, it says like x, t, theta, n. Okay, I don't like this marker at all. And then once you press those 3 buttons, you just press enter. And that is going to save that value as x in your calculator. After which, if you just write something like, hey calculator, x plus 1, enter.
it will pop out 6. It will evaluate this as long as x is 5, which is what you told it to do. So if you put in 11 over 2, store x, enter, then you could just do x plus 5 divided by x minus 5. It'll tell you if it's 10 or not very quickly. Okay? That is going to make math class easier, too.
Is the answer D? I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, that's what that is. Answer D. Yeah, I mean, okay, well, should we show them how to do this?
Yeah, let's actually do the right way of doing it. Or the
non-creative way. This is the algebraic way. Okay, so we want to multiply. So we have, okay, we got.
Oh, that's not
all
ideal.
right, t minus. Oh, we got t plus 5 over t minus 5 is equal to 10. Thank you for this. Thank you for this.
We really appreciate it because we
are hungry.
Nourishment from tutoring.
Nourishment. So this is filling us up.
Yeah. And we will pay you. Just give us all of your personal information and we will pay you.
In advertisements.
Yes.
We'll advertise you.
Yeah.
To other people.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Multiply by the denominator here. Okay. We're going to multiply both sides by t minus 5 because it's terrible when you have the variable you're trying to solve for in the denominator. So that's going to cross out with that. We're going to get t plus 5 is equal to, distribute the 10. 10t minus 50. You got t on two sides. Let's get them all on one side and all the numbers on the other side. I'm going to subtract t on this side, subtract t on this side. I'm going to add 50 to both sides, which is going to give us, here we go, I'm going to subtract t. That's going to give us 9t is equal to, if we add 50, it's going to give us 55. Last thing you have to do is just divide by 9. So 55 over 9, which, yes, is D. Way to go, JDMV 1507. Is that like DMV? Like the Department of Motor Vehicles, where fun goes to die? Yeah, okay, so that's putting in an answer. You can always try that. Let's show you one where we have variables in the question, variables in the answer. Because that's often a lot of fun. Okay, what about we have down here? No, we don't want that. We're going to go to the next one. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, we're already on this stuff. Let's see.
I'm going to erase the T stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that's awesome. Okay, do that one. No, can't do that.
Can you scroll down, by the way?
Yeah, I didn't get that. Oh my gosh, there's so many things going on. Wow. Okay.
Oh, that was me.
Can't do that. Okay. Can't do that. Can't do that. We're going to get there. You're going to get there. You guys also go over probability.
Oh my gosh, we can go over probability.
Yes, you think we can't do that?
We're going
to absolutely do that. We'll do it twice.
No, well.
3 times.
No.
Once. Twice.
Probability.
3 times a lady.
We can't go over all of probability that's going to be on the SAT because
there's
that
a
will
lot
take
of probability.
the rest of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll do some stuff. What are we on now, by the way?
We're going to be doing reading tips.
Stuff.
That's what we're finishing up right now. Are there really like no variables in the question, variables in the answer?
Yes, because I knew we would get a question about, or you would bring it up, and I decided to upload a test. That
Here we go. 26. 26. Here we go. Okay. Oh god, you know what? We gotta get rid of that Cram Session thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's get rid of it. Sorry, man. It looks great.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It really does. Okay. Let x and y be numbers such that negative y is less than x is less than y. Which of the following must be true? And then we have a bunch of those same variables in our answers. These are kind of the answers. They're like little true or false statements. So the trick is, let's pick numbers for x and y, and let's just stick with them, okay? Let's just choose some simple ones. Let's say that x is, I don't know, 4, and y is 6, and let's make sure that that works. Negative y would be negative 6 is less than x, which would be 4, which is less than y, which is equal to 6. Fantastic. This group of numbers works. If it didn't work, we'd have to recreate our numbers because none of the rest of these would be valid. Okay, which of the following must be true? Let's go through these. So if we take the absolute value of x, it has to be less than y. Okay, let's see if that works. So absolute value, here we go, of 4 has to be less than 6. Absolute value of 4 is just 4. 4 is less than 6. That seems pretty good. Now they're asking which of the following must be true. So it might be that there's a different set of numbers we could pick that would make this not true. However, if you have negative y, and y is bigger than negative y itself has to be a positive number. If y was negative, let's say that y was negative 6, okay, then this first number would be positive 6 is less than something, which is less than negative 6, and that's impossible. All right, if you're positive, you're greater than the negative version of yourself, so there's no way that's possible. So y, therefore, has to be a positive number, and x just has to be somewhere in between. So could x be a negative number? That's something to think about. If x is, let's say, -4, let's see if that would work. We would have -6 is less than -4, which is less than 6. That would work. Let's just make sure our first thing works in that situation. So we'd have the absolute value of -4, which just becomes 4, is less than 6. That's good. 1 is always going to be true. Fantastic. X is greater than 0. Does that have to be true? Well, we just showed that x could be -4, and that would still make this work. So this would be true if x was 4. Great. Does it have to be true for this to work? No. 2 does not have to be true. There's a difference between could be true and has to be true. And this thing does not have to be true. Y is greater than 0. I did talk about this. Y has to be positive if -y is less than y is going to work. So yes, y has to be positive, which means 1 and 3 are our answers, which is C. Okay? So yeah, choosing your own values for variables and then continuing with those values to see what the answers are gonna look like is another possible creative math solving strategy. There's really no. Are there any other good ones here?
No.
You already looked through them. We also just keep moving.
Yeah, I think we should keep moving.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of questions.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so reading tips. Can you go to the reading section?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Oh my
is this
gosh.
math? Is this sorry?
This is math.
This is why don't you go to the end and then back around to the beginning of the reading section?
Okay. Let's erase
Okay.
this stuff.
Yeah, I got it. Reading section tips. Who was asking about that?
Somebody.
Also, for those of you watching on Facebook, you can't see the Twitch people's comments. We're on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, so we're mainly responding to Twitch stuff because that's where most of our viewers are. Just so that everybody knows.
Oh, JDMV asked. Wait, Levi, I don't think it goes. I don't think it loops back around.
It should. It doesn't?
How many pages does it say no test material on this page for? Oh, never mind. We're going to the end. Oh,
Very
well,
good.
hey, look at that. Look who was right. It was you. It was not me. Welcome to the reading section.
Oh my goodness, look at the reading section. Okay.
Very good.
Reading section tips. Okay, so JDMV, have you had an issue with timing on the reading section, or is it understanding, or is it lack of focus? What's been the general problem for you? Because there are lots of strategies to approach it, but I'd prefer to point it at stuff that you have trouble doing.
Let's show you some questions. You should probably talk about the evidence stuff.
Yeah, we can. Well, I'm sure somebody will ask about reading again, and I don't want to
Give it all away.
Yeah,
Right, mostly
most of the
timing.
time. Okay,
Levi, this is absolutely
this
you.
is entirely me.
I have nothing to say about
I am
this.
the only person who could possibly answer this question on the face of my head, I guess.
Head face.
Yeah, head face. Yeah. Okay. Reading section questions. Yeah. So my problem with the reading section on SAT and ACT, the questions with which provides. Ooh, yes. Oh, you hate those? Don't hate those. They're my favorite, actually. So, time-wise, don't read the passage as closely as you might feel the need to, because you don't have time to do that. That's where much of the time is spent, probably. So what I do on the reading section, this is so slow. What is this garbage? Okay, I apologize for this. You want to start, okay. When you're reading the passage, what I recommend, so my emotions are complicated. Okay, so this is the beginning of the passage here. My emotions are complicated and not readily verifiable. I feel a vast yearning that is simultaneously a pleasure and a pain. I am certain of the consummation of this yearning, but I don't know yet what form it will take, since I do not understand quite what is okay. For the first time, there is born in me upon the full truth of what. Oh my gosh! So this is a lot of garbage. You probably have to read all of this. So this is probably not the ideal passage to do this on. But skimming is the idea. I'm going to pick a passage that's a little bit easier to demonstrate this general topic, or this general approach. Instead of reading the passage closely, you read until you understand what's going on. So it's not skimming just for words, although you can do that as well. But yes, thank you, Aridi. That's very true. We are not witnessing the abandonment of suburbs or the movement of millions of people back into the city at all. Okay, so that's important. People are not abandoning the suburbs. We're doing this other thing. The 2010 census certainly did not turn up evidence of middle-class stampede to the nation's cities. Okay, so now we know what's going on. As soon as you read enough to understand what's happening, and then you say, okay, well, now they're going to describe probably what this census actually said. So let's jump. I know where it's going to be talking about that thing. Yes?
Tomorrow is the SAT. We would probably not recommend that you just switch up your reading strategy for tomorrow.
Yeah, this is for if you are out of time and you have 3 minutes left for the last passage, this would be a good approach to save time. But
yes.
it's a practice that you would need to practice
yes.
To be comfortable doing it for the entire test. So don't do this for everything. Just do it when you're on that last passage if you run out of time. So you're reading closely until you understand what they're talking about, and then you jump, and then you read closely until you know what they're talking about, and you jump. And that way you can finish reading the passage in 30 seconds to a minute, and then you go to the questions. Because the questions, now we'll get to those two-part questions that you're talking about, those evidence ones. So let's see. We have number 11. I have no strategy since I completely ignored practicing for reading. That's okay. Maybe you'll get very lucky if you're not good at it. There's a chance of that. Right? There is a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's a probability of it. Okay, so another strategy here is when you're dealing with number 11, which choice best summarizes the first paragraph of the passage? Don't do that one. It's a summary question. It requires a bigger understanding. It's 35 lines of stuff that you're supposed to understand more fully. Don't do that right away, because while you can certainly get it right, you're not as familiar with the passage. You want to do the more detail-oriented questions before going to the bigger idea questions. So summary things, main idea questions, inference questions, general purpose questions, skip them. Do the vocab and context questions. Do the detail-oriented questions, this one. According to the passage, members of which group moved away from the central city areas in large numbers in the early 2000s? Now let's see. Is this a... No, it's not. Okay. So I would possibly even skip this one unless you know it, because it doesn't give you line numbers. Now I would do number 13 that has line 34. It's a vocab and context question. You don't need to understand the passage as a whole. You just need to know the immediate context for this question. Okay? And then you could do maybe 14 and 15. It says, according to the passage, which choice best describes the current financial situation in many major American cities? Now these evidence questions, the two-part questions is what we call them. You should read the question and then find the evidence. Do not try to answer this question immediately. The reading section especially, and also I think the writing section on the SAT, you should not be trying to find the right answer. You should be trying to prove everything wrong. If you can prove answers wrong, that means you're doing the right thing. You're less likely to make mistakes because you're saying, oh, I can identify that's a problem with this answer choice. So, according to the passage, which choice best describes the current financial situation in many major American cities? These line numbers, generally 2 of them will just be irrelevant to the question, so you can get rid of them. And remember, you're doing 2 questions at once, so you can take a little bit longer than you would for a normal question because you're doing 2 of them. So let's actually work on this one. We are looking for information that is regarding which choice best describes the current financial situation in many major American cities. So financial situation in multiple American cities. That's what we're looking for. So line 36 to 39. Okay, so careless errors on the reading section is going to be proving 3 wrong. It's a little bit slower, at least at first, maybe, but accuracy is way more important than efficiency on the reading section, to an extent, I guess. So you want to be proving 3 wrong. What I do on every single test I ever do, and what I beg my students to do, is I have people cross out words in the answer choices. That means you're actually trying to prove legitimate ideas in those answer choices wrong, rather than saying, oh, I know I don't like it that much. Be specific about why you don't like answer choices, and you will start to recognize the same mistakes that each of the wrong answers make over and over and over, which is generally, those mistakes are often irrelevance. They're extreme answers when the passage says sometimes and then the answer says never, or something like that. Or there's a jumble in relationships, so A loves B instead of B loves A. Those types of things are common mistakes that come up over and over again, and if you're trying to prove things wrong, you can see those more clearly, and you're not going to get caught up in little catchy things. Okay, so we're trying to talk about major American cities' financial situations in line 36 through 39. So let's see if we can figure that out. Maybe we can't, because I haven't read the passage and neither of you. We're here, so we have 36 to 39. Did I miss? Oh, wait. I went too far, right?
Be gentle.
I'm pretty sure that was the wrong passage. Yeah. What's happening? Brady, tell me what's happening.
There's a massive hyperpolarization
Yeah?
in the politics of the United States citizenry.
Got it. This is test 4 of the free SAT test, and it's just the one we happen to have as an overlay that we can use. Okay, yeah, this is question 13. Are we missing a thing, or I was foolish? Oh, wow, we're missing a page, Brady. That's an issue.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yeah. We have question 11 here, and then if I go back a page, we're just on the first passage. So I don't know why that is, but it is. Anyway, if you want us to go over, specific evidence questions, we can. But it is about reading these lines and saying, okay, do these lines actually help us answer this question? We don't have to figure out exactly what the answer is, but generally you can use relevance to figure out if you want these answers. And then hopefully you're just left with one, and then you can see which one that supports here. But remember, you're just dealing with what can help me answer the question. The answers are here. Don't answer this question first, because these will tell you the answer. So why would you do the work yourself? Let them do the heavy lifting. Okay, link is here. Yeah, cool, there you go. Hey, I just got here. Quick question. Should I watch from here or restart? Sorry, Dragon Slayer. Yes, very good. Okay, sorry. You figured it out yourself, and I didn't help at all. I apologize. Okay. Thank you, All-Star. We appreciate it. Okay. So that's reading tips for now. Does anybody want me to actually find where we don't have a page missing? Because, sorry. Or would you like me to move on to circle ratios? Do you understand this approach? Blink twice if you agree with that. Circle ratios, please and thanks. Okay, got it. Only response. Nobody was blinking, as far as I could tell. Okay. Just a sec, I'm taking the overlay off, maybe. Nah, why would I take the overlay off? That would mean that this actually works. There we go, okay.
You want to do it or should I do it?
No, I got it.
Very good.
Okay. Lovely. Wait, did I say what?
Oh,
I understand circle ratios. Okay. I can draw stuff if you want to do circle ratios.
Very good. Yeah. Okay. So Levi's going to draw a circle for you. This can be a pretty good circle. With a radius of 6. Very good. And let's give it a 90-degree sector. Okay. So very first question to keep it basic is, what is the area and what is the circumference of the circle? Okay. You got to have quick questions for you people in the chat. Will Monster Red Bull affect me negatively during the test? If you've never taken one before, it is not time to try something new that will affect your brain. Okay. Good night's sleep, a lot of food. You're not going to know more things than you did before because you drank something like that. Okay. If you routinely do this for school tests, which is, yeah, I've heard it worse. Then you know how this is going to affect you. The fact that you're asking this though means that you don't know how it's going to affect you. This is not the time to try that. Okay, just do what you normally do. Don't try crazy things like that. Okay, so the circumference here is always going to be 2 pi r, which means it's going to be 2 times pi times 6, which is going to be 12 pi. Good. The area is pi r squared. Pi r squarea is how I try to remember. It's the area pi r squarea, which is going to be pi times 6 squared, which is 36. 36 pi. Fantastic. Okay, so my first question for you is, this is a 90-degree angle. That's not the question. The question is, what is the arc length right here? Let's say that this is A and this is B. What is the arc length? Okay. The circumference is 12 pi. We figured that out. Okay, that's the length around the entire perimeter of the circle. Think about fraction-wise what this is. If this is 90 degrees, you can see that this is a quarter of the circle, okay? The fact that this angle, 90, is a quarter of 360 is going to mean that this entire sector, in all ways, will be a quarter of the circle, okay? 6 pi over 2, we'll see about that. So this arc length here is going to be a quarter of the overall arc length. It just has to be. So if you take your circumference, which is 12 pi, and you divide it by 4, because we're trying to find a fourth of it,
you are going to get 3 pi. Okay? That's going to be the arc length here. Yes, now, all-star hit has an interesting point, which is there is a formula that you can use, but it's only if you know radians very well. Okay? There's an arc length formula that is S is equal to R theta. We used to call it SERTH, because it's like S-E-R-T-H, SERTH. Anyway, where S is your arc length, so this would be S, R is your radius, and theta is your angle in terms of radians, okay? This right here is 90 degrees. That's pi over 2. So this would be our radius is 6 times pi over 2, which is going to give us 3 pi. However, this is kind of a more advanced way to do it. I want to show you the basic way that might help you in more general circumstances. Arc length is radius times angle in radians. That sounds about right to me. Here is a more general way to do this. The other question is, what's the area of that sector? Same deal. It's going to be a quarter of the circle. So if our area of the circle is 36 pi, take a quarter of that. Divide it by 4, you're going to get 9 pi. Okay? But this is for 90 degrees, which is a very, very easy angle to just a picture. You can tell that it's a quarter just by looking at it. What about when things get really weird and specific and they're not fun fractions? Okay? Let's say that this is now going to be your sectors when okay. That's right. I normally do not see them asking you for half theta r squared. I think that's true. Let's say that this is 145 degrees. Okay? And the question here is, again, what is this arc length? Okay. Here's the general formula. Whatever angle you have inside your sector, 145, you're going to find the ratio of that over the full circle, which is 360. Angle over 360. And you're going to set that equal to, in this case, we're trying to find the arc length. Arc length over the entire circumference. So we're creating a proportion here by setting two ratios equal to each other, circumference, okay? The reason we can do this is because both of these have the same general format, which is we're taking a part and we are dividing it by the whole. The part that is our angle, 145, divided by the whole, which is 360. The part that is our arc length, S, over our entire circumference, which is the whole. Okay? So let's just change the radius to give us slightly different numbers, and let's say that this is now 8. We want to find our arc length. Our angle we know, that's 145. So we have 145 over 360 is equal to, we'll call our arc length S. Our circumference is going to be 2 pi r, which is going to be 16 pi. 16 pi. All right? This proportion here, if you solve this for S, you will have your arc length. The way to solve a proportion is cross-multiplying. Okay? So we have S times 360. So 360S is equal to 145 times 16 pi. Wow. Let's just figure out what the basics of that are going to be. Enter. We got 145 times 16 is going to be 2,320. So this is 2,320 pi. And then you want to solve for S, so just divide by 360. Divide by 360. So divided by 360, and that's going to be equal to 58 over 9. S is 58 over 9 times pi. The question might ask you for it in terms of a decimal, in which case just multiply 58 over 9 times pi in your calculator, and you'll get it. This would be on the calculator section, right? Yes, it would. It would. They might ask you for the setup on the non-calculator portion, in which case you wouldn't actually have to solve it, but just show like the right ratio. That might happen. But yeah, this is probably going to be on the calculator section, okay? And then you can also set this equal to sector area over circle area. All of these things are equal to each other. I'm not asking you to make an equation with 3 different parts, but you can set any of these two equal to each other and you're going to be fine. So angle over 360 is usually what you start with. They typically give you an angle. Sometimes you have to find that angle, and they give you everything else. They'll give you the arc length. They'll give you the radius so you can figure out the circumference. But this right here, yes, you have to remember these relationships and then set what you can set equal to each other, pretty much. Okay?
Do that.
Yeah, absolutely do that.
Do it.
Don't not do it. Should I take this off? Or should I just not even acknowledge it?
No, I just was wondering where Brady was.
Oh, I'm his evil twin brother. I would prefer to be in black and white and be like, and I would tie him to a railroad, lots of ropes.
Is that the trolley problem?
No. I mean, sure.
Oh, it's just him.
Sure. Hello, Senior Brady. What am I, old?
Senor.
That's Senior.
Storm, what's up?
You got to put an Enye on that end. Hello, Senior Storm. You've gotten a lot older since I last saw you. Or last saw your screen name. Do they call them screen names? What do they call them? You remember AOL Instant Messenger?
No.
You never did that?
No, I mean, I remember it, but I just...
You didn't do it.
No.
That makes sense. Levi didn't watch TV, so absolutely.
Right, and that's where AOL is, on TV.
Right. You gonna do parabolas?
Yeah.
Very good.
Is there an SAT tomorrow? Yeah, there's an SAT tomorrow, unless you're in Asia, in which case there's an SAT today.
I love Asia because of that reason. Let me help you.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, my good man. Ha ha! What kind of a man would I be if I didn't help you? Sorry, the mustache is taking over.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, Shane.
Put it upside down.
Ha ha!
Okay.
Can you scroll down for me? Thank you. Do appreciate your online handle, good sir.
Is my mustache my online handle?
No, that. Your online handlebar mustache. No, handle is what you can call the username.
Oh, very good.
Have you heard Twitter handle before?
Yes, I have.
And that's where.
Yeah, that's where you grab Twitter by the handle, right?
Right, it's similar to that, but not the same at all. It's metaphorical.
Oh, okay. Twitter's a metaphor?
Yep, big
Okay.
metaphor.
So our
For
president.
like the wild, foolish cheeping of birds.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, we are doing parabolas. I'm not going to define. I'm not going to go too basic for parabolas, but I will do the equation of a parabola and then what all the pieces mean and then how to deal with translating it and then zeros. But other than that, I mean, those are the big guys.
That's fantastic, man.
It is pretty fantastic. That's what everybody's saying. I made 2 posts on Reddit. Can you just check them out?
I like both of them.
Oh, you have. I'm glad you like them.
I like them a lot.
Hey, for those of you who are from Reddit, did you just drop something?
No.
Okay. Say hi. Also, can somebody link the Discord in the chat for Twitch people so that you can see where you can ask questions? If you have a question that you're working on as you study, you can take a screenshot of it, post it on our Discord channel on the questions for stream channel there, and we can answer that more easily, if it's a bigger question. Thank you, All-Star. Very good. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Parabolas. Okay, so parabola in Spanish actually means curvy line.
That's not true.
That is Old Spanish.
Oh, Old Spanish. You should have said that.
Thank you, Storm. This is the extent of my studying. Very good. This can't be bad. That's not true. Okay, parabolas. This is our basic parabola. We have this, and it goes like that, more or less, right? And this is going to be x squared. Y equals x squared. I'm not going to explain how that actually works. That's what it is. If you're not comfortable with that, check out Khan Academy. Now, to mess with this guy, there are several different things we can do. The most basic of which is you take the same thing and you add something to it. So if we add 3, what's going to happen is that for all of the x values that you already have in x squared, y equals x squared, you're going to get the same thing for that piece, and then you're going to add 3. So the y value for any given x value will be 3 higher. So this thing moves up 3. Like that. It won't stay smaller like that, but it'll go out. So instead of 0, 0, you have 0, 3. And instead of 1, 1, you have 1, 4. And instead of 2, 4, you have 2, 7. And then flipped on in the second quadrant. Okay, so this is moving up. And then we have, and then moving down is the same thing. So minus 3 would drop you down. And then you can have, inside the squared thing, you could have something like plus 2. Now, because it's the night before the test, I'm not going to explain too much why this happens, but if you add something here or subtract it, you can move up and down respectively. Here, you go the opposite way that would make sense. So normally if you think plus, you think up and right. In this case, if you're adding inside here to the x, you move to the left. Okay, so adding means move left. And then subtracting, let's say x minus 3 squared, you move down. This is up, this is down, this is wrong. I don't know why I wrote that. This is not down, this is to the right. Okay, so those are the general little slidey translation, guys. Are we able to request topics, or are you going through the preset? Oh, no, this is not preset. This is what people have asked. So if you ask something, we will put it in the queue. So right now we're on parabolas, then we're doing probability. Whoever asked probability, I think you're on Facebook. Can you say hi again? Because otherwise we're going to skip it, because it's a big topic and it's hard. And if you're still here, great, we'll do it. If not, then we won't do it. Make sense? So say hi again. Okay, so now let's do some funkier stuff. And I'm going to redraw this thing. So here we are, and here's our basic x squared parabola. If now we're going to multiply out front, and we're going to say 10x squared. If you think about this one, what's going to happen is that at 0, 0, you're going to have the same thing. Anyone who is here for reading tips able to summarize them for me? Jacob Cass, you can hop back in the recorded video if you're on Twitch. Yeah, so if you go up to the tabs up top and click videos, today's video has a question mark. Just go back to there and you can watch that. You can watch it later or hang out here. You can watch it now or watch it later and hang out here for now. Daniela, you're here. Great. So we will do probability in the next 5-ish minutes. Okay, 10x squared. So if you put 0 in for x, like up here, you're going to get 0 for y. 0 squared is 0. Here you have 0 squared times 10, which is still 0. So you're going to stay here. So you're not moving, you're not shifting the graph left to right or up or down. What's happening is then every value of x that's not 0 is going to jump higher more quickly. So instead of 1, 1 for this x squared, you're going to have 1 squared, which is 1 times 10. So now you're already up here. And then negative 1 does the same thing. You're already up here. So this is going to be a more narrow graph. So you can think of it in different ways. I think of it as getting more narrow. It's because this is getting bigger, you're going faster up. So this is narrows. I don't know. What would you call this word? What would the verb be here for you, Bird? Not narrows, but...
It's a vertical stretch.
Yeah. Okay. It stretches it vertically. It does something. It can get skinny. Whatever you want to say. Whatever you're into.
You're doing great.
Can you talk about the essay? Ooh, yeah, we'll do essay. Okay. Very good. Essay is after probability, which is after parabola, which is this. Okay. I hope this makes sense. And then you have now this is when you're doing the vertical stretch. You're getting an hour or whatever. Now, if we do a fraction, the opposite process is happening. So if we do 1/30 x squared, now if you plug in 0 for x, you're going to get the same thing. So you're still here. And I'm going to do this in orange now. So I'll put a little star and make it orange. We are going to get wider because 1, if you plug in 1, instead of getting 1 for x squared, you get 1 times 1 over 30, which is 1/30. So you're not going to even get up to 1. You're going to be here. And then if you do 10, you're going to get 100 for x squared over 30, which is 10/3, which is about 3.3. So now you're going to be out here. So you're going to get wider. Yes?
Yes.
So this, I don't know why I did it this way, but this is the way it's been done. It gets wider. Last one, negatives. It's very simple. If this is negative x squared, you flip it. Because it makes sense. If you have x squared and you plug in 1, you're going to get 1. If you have negative x squared, order of operations tells you you do 1 squared first, and then you take the negative. So what's going to happen is this is going to flip it that way. Nothing else will change. So this is flip over the vertex. And this is a, am I still on the board? Yes, I am. This is vertical flip. Because flipping this way doesn't do anything, right? Because it's symmetrical over the x-axis, at least at the moment. So you can put all of these together. Shrink. Okay, thank you. You can put all of these together and it still works. Just do each of them piecemeal. do these last. I would do it in this order, okay? So let's say that we have y, I'll keep it simple at first. We have y equals negative x minus 1 squared. So I'm going to start with my basic parabola, this guy. And then we're saying minus 1, which means we move the opposite direction. That would make sense, so we're going to move to the right because it's minus 1. We'll move 1 to the right. So now our vertex, so start with your vertex, instead of being there like on this guy, it's going to be now over here. And then it's negative, so it flips that way. So instead of being here, it'll now be here. Okay? And then you can do this with any number of things. So let's say that you have, well, I'll do an orange. I'm almost done with this, don't worry. Let's say negative 1/20th x minus 3 squared plus 8. Here, I'm going to do it on the same one. So we're going to go to the right 3, because it's minus 3. Right 3 this way, so 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go up 8, so I'm not actually going to do that. So now our vertex is here. You find the vertex with these two, and I'll explain that in a second. And then it's 1/20th, which means we're getting wider, and we're flipping. So it's going to look like that. That will be our parabola. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
We're going to talk about when it's in standard quadratic form.
Standard quadratic form?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to do, well, I don't want to do zeros, actually. So from here, we can derive the general, or not the general, the vertex form of a parabola. It's going to be a times x minus h squared plus k. Yeah.
Okay.
So h and k are your vertex, right? Your vertex is going to be 0, 0, but if you start moving it, it moves in the x direction this way, and it moves in the y direction this way. So that means your vertex is h comma k. And then as the magnitude of a gets bigger, you get narrower, and if it's positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. Quadratic formula, okay.
Not quadratic formula, but just...
No, somebody asked about
Oh, okay. Okay. There's also the possibility that they give you a quadratic equation in standard form and not vertex form. Knowing vertex form is very helpful, though. Is from, what template should you use? But we should talk about that because the things you can get from that are the zeros and the vertex, which are pretty important pieces of information.
Yeah, this is the easiest way to graph a parabola. Do you want to do that? I can do that. I can erase stuff while you talk.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to give us a standard. Here, I'm going to jump over here once you're done with this. Here, wait, let's get this over.
It's still a little wet.
Oh.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, fine.
Quick, children.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is so dry now.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so dry.
Go for it. There we go. Great. Okay. So standard form of a quadratic equation is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So if you got y is equal to x squared plus 7x plus 12, and you're wondering what that graph looks like. There's a couple things that you can figure out. First off, because of Levi, you know that if it's a positive x squared, it's going to be opening up. Okay? Also, whatever this number is, c is going to be our y-intercept. The things that you need to figure out, let's see. Very good. First off, the zeros. Okay? The zeros are the x-intercepts. You set y equal to 0. You got x squared plus 7x plus 12. And this should look familiar. Normally when you set up a quadratic equation to solve, you set it equal to 0. That's what you're doing here. We're finding when y equals 0. When y equals 0, you're on the x-axis. So you're going to find the x-intercepts. So the goals are you can do factoring. If that works, you're golden. It's like a shortcut. It's great. If you can't do that, you got to do either quadratic formula or completing the square. But let's see if we can do factoring here. So when I factor, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to this number, multiply to 12, and add to 7. Those numbers are going to be 3 and 4. So the factors here are going to be 0 is equal to x plus 4, x plus 3. Great. And then our actual solutions are the zeros of those factors. What makes each of those factors equal to 0? So in this case, we set x plus 4 equal to 0. X is equal to negative 4. We have x plus 3 is equal to 0. X is equal to negative 3. These two numbers are our x-intercepts. So if we draw this thing out, here we go. Draw this thing out. we have x-intercepts at -4 and -3. 2. Here's one right there, okay? There's going to be there. They're going to be going up. Other thing is the vertex, and this is important. The vertex in vertex form is very simple to see. It's, h comma k. But if it's in quadratic, the x-coordinate, you need to have this memorized. The x-coordinate of the vertex of a parabola is -b over 2a. -b over 2a. So in this case, our b value is 7. So we're going to have -7 over 2 times our a value is just 1. So 2, which is -3.5. That is the x value of our vertex. So to find the y value, you just plug that into the equation. Okay? Is this your calculator, Levi?
Yes.
Very good.
Maybe take a hot sec.
-3.5. Where is your store? There it is. Store. Where's your X button? X is down here. Enter. Great. So we've got, oh gosh, this is embarrassing. X squared. Wait, what is this? Oh gosh, this is terrible. This is plus 7x. I'm sorry, guys. This is a new calculator for me. Plus 12 is equal to -0.25. So the y value of the vertex is going to be -0.25. So that's -3.5, which is between those down about a quarter. There's our vertex right there. So our parabola is going to look something like this. And actually, the y-intercept, when x is 0, is very easy. It's this number right here. Because if x is 0, you put 0 in for these x's. These terms are not going to matter, so y is equal to 12. So it's going to hit our y-axis at 12. So it's going to look something like that. There we go. Yeah, this is not much of it. It's got to be more curvy. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so systems of equations.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
Very good. Okay.
Are you done with this?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, can you do probability because you're a little bit quicker with that than me?
Sure.
I can erase this for you.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, probability. Your general formula is desired over total. I'm talking about outcomes here. Okay, so if we have a dice.
A die. Sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
We have a die. You're asking for, hey, what's the probability of rolling a 2? Okay, your desired is rolling a 2, but that's only one. That's one outcome. We want a certain outcome. There's only one of them, and the total number of outcomes are 6. Okay, one outcome out of 6 equally likely outcomes is a chance. The probability is 1/6. Okay, so that's very simple. Okay, but it's going to get more complicated. Otherwise, we would not be doing our job. Let's say we said the probability of a 2 or a 4. Either one of these would work, 2 or 4. Those are 2 different outcomes that we could get, we'd be happy with, divided by the total. That's going to be 2 out of 6, or 1/3. So in general, when you see the word or, this or that happening, what that means that you do is you add the 2 probabilities together. P of 2 plus P of 4, okay? That's the or. There's a different possibility. They could be asking for, what is the probability of 2 and then 4? Ooh, okay. Usually they don't say and then, but I say and then because it means 2 different events happened here, okay?
No.
Oh, man.
No, that's it. No, it's not. That's not true.
Yeah, no. Oh, my gosh, that's not true. It's not true at all.
Yes, we are doing math, but also that's no, that's not true.
If there are 2 different events, you want to take the probability of the first event and multiply it by the probability of the second event. All right? So probability of getting a 2 is 1/6 like before. We want to multiply it by the next probability, which is the probability of getting a 4. And that's also 1/6, which is going to give us 1 out of 36. Okay? Now what if I ask you something wonky? Wonky. This thing is going to be so wonky.
Wonkward.
Wonkward. Wonk. What if I said something like, what is the chance of getting a 1 or an odd? Okay, you might say, well, that's or, so you add the 2 probabilities. So it's probability of 1 plus probability of odd. Probability of 1 is 1/6. Probability of an odd number, there are 3 odd numbers out of 6, so that's 3/6. So hey, that gives you 4/6. I'm forgetting something. 1 is included in the odd numbers here. So I can't add 1 and all the odd numbers because I'd be double counting. So out of curiosity, what did you get on the SAT? All-star hit? That's a great question. So instead, I have to make sure to subtract the chance of both of them happening, which is 1 odd. It's the same thing, okay? Which is going to be minus 1/6, which is going to get us back 4/6 to 3/6. Okay? So yeah, make sure that you have, if you have two different, like, it's like a Venn diagram, right? We've got 1 and we've got odd. I don't know why I drew it like this. And 1 actually fits right there. And then you've got 3 and you've got 5. So you don't want to overcount 1, okay? Other things that might happen with probability. Let's talk about something like getting a password right or something like that. Okay. A lot of you guys have iPhones. Hey, I got an iPhone. You got an iPhone? No, you don't.
I do have an iPhone.
Oh, that's right, you do.
Not for long, ideally.
You do. Okay, an iPhone password, let's say there are 4 numbers. 4 numbers is my password. Actually, I use Face ID, so I don't... It's a lot of numbers if you try to break down a face into digits. But let's say that you just took someone's phone and you tried randomly guessing. What is the chance that you will get it right? Okay? You got to figure out all the different outcomes possible. The way you figure that out is think about how many numbers could be in each of these slots. Okay? There are 10 digits to choose from. Not 9, 10, because 0 is also an option. 0 through 9 is 10 digits. So there's 10 options for this, 10 options for this, 10 options for this, 10 options for this. If you're allowed to repeat the same number. If I just want 2, 2, 2, 2, that's fine. I can use those same digits over and over. 10 options for each. You want to multiply all of these, okay? This is going to give you, so that's 100, 1,000, 10,000. 10,000 total outcomes, and now you've got the total, which means that the chance that your outcome is right is 1 in 10,000. Very good. Okay. You want to keep going now? What else is there with probability? There's other things. You got to know like combinations, permutations a little bit sometimes.
But that's not exactly probability.
Yeah, we went over some probability.
Yeah. Do you want, who is this? Daniela. Daniela, if you're still on Facebook, do you want permutations and combinations? That's another set of stuff, so we can do that next if you say hello and do that. Okay, so before we get to the essay, I want to talk about this and then our others. So this is us. We are Accelerate. This is going to take like 1 minute. So
yeah, don't worry.
Just relax. Just stay there.
Just
We're
relax.
We're going to advertise ourselves.
Jeez.
Stay there.
Calm down.
Stop it.
Okay.
Stop. Okay. Oh, it's not. Okay. Well, this is alta ipsum. It means sum it yourself in Japanese.
That's not true. It's Latin. This is our sponsor.
You don't know Japanese.
Continue. You're right. I don't know.
Ow.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's an executive functioning app. So it's computer and it's iPhone, whatever. And what you can do is you can put in your grades and you can track your grades, and you can put in a test that's coming up and it'll set up a study schedule for you that you can then customize. Or you can put in a term paper that's due and it'll say, well, write on these days, that type of thing. And it makes you breakfast.
I wish it made me breakfast. I'd order it twice.
Yes. Oh, speaking of ordering,
other things you can do. Okay, you can put us in there. We do this Tuesdays through Thursdays, 8 to 9:30 p.m. every week. Okay, you got a calendar in this app. It takes stress out of your life because when you say I have an essay due now, it inserts events into your calendar. First draft, edit your draft, final draft, does it all for you. You can move things around, of course. Color code things, color code nerdish. It's free for the first month. You got nothing to lose.
It has been free ever since it began,
True.
But you haven't been making that. So it's going to be free until you get it, and then it's free for a month after you get it, and then it would no longer be free. So
Right.
You're getting nothing for free at the moment. Ideally, you get something for free for a month.
Yes. In fact, the fact that you've not been getting anything, you've been ripped off forever now until you finally get it for free.
So it's a huge sunk cost at this point.
Massive.
So
Spilled
you should,
milk.
Jump the rest of the way in. And then something will come up in a second. It's Accelerate Tutoring. That's our company. And
we tutor.
We tutor for not free. This is free. You're not paying for this. We're actually paying you right now.
With our time.
With the enormous opportunity cost of not going to the 2 birthday parties that we were invited to.
We were invited to 2 birthday parties. Levi's and mine.
Yes. And so everybody's upstairs celebrating our birthdays.
But we're not, because the SAT's tomorrow.
Right.
And that makes us more excited than birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Very good.
Okay, you're going to start with the essay?
Yeah, let's start with the essay
The
now.
probability of you getting a good score on the essay. Why don't you start with that, big shot?
The probability that you get a good score on the essay is actually not so much a probability because it's based. Well, it depends.
You ready?
Yes. What? Yes.
We're going to do this. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. M&M's. That was good. Here we go. And hey, look at that.
Okay. Essay. I don't want this. Can you raise the probability?
Can we also go over complete the square? We actually did that earlier in the stream, so you just gotta when this is over, you can find it. Complete the square, it's up here. We already talked about it.
Remember, don't go to sleep tonight.
Very good. Yeah, hold on. We should talk about that. Yeah, best things you can do for yourself. No sleeping tonight. Stop eating now. No more water. No more drinking anything.
If you're gonna eat, human flesh is ideal.
Yeah, just human flesh. Strictly that. Also, if you can try to start minimizing your breathing.
Yes. Deprive your brain of oxygen.
Deprive it, because then when it's time for testing, it'll be in like extreme survival mode, and it'll understand of everything. It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, do all those things. Try to just be staring at your phone for the next.
Do new things up until the test.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now, essay stuff. The essay on the SAT is weird because it's not saying, okay, what do you think about this topic? The topic is specifically read what somebody else thinks about some other topic that you may or may not care to read, and then you have to decide whether or not they did a good job. So yes, I'm sure the College Panda template is good. And so I'll give you, hey, I forget who that was who had access to it. If you want to post a picture of it in here, that would be great. Go for it. Generally,
good cup of SAT.
We gotta steep it in something nice, you know?
Yeah.
We got a little thing there, and there's a little thing there, and we got that and there, and maybe like a little of this.
I would drink the crap out of that.
Oh, you would drink
that. Looks delicious.
But I would crap in that, and you would drink
No,
that.
let's not get disgusting.
Right, sorry. Okay. Thank you, Stream Elements, for telling us that Eloise J-Bay...
what the esh? As long as you get plenty of sleep, you can do a little bit of cramming. But it's much better to prepare over a long period of time for stable memory storage and stuff, and lots of nutrients.
Very good. Okay, essay stuff. So you're gonna have your intro, something, and and we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's actually where you can get some pointage above the average stuff that you'd be getting with a good template and staying on topic and not being a fool. Your thesis. And by not being a fool, I mean, like, don't write garbage. Then just don't take the essay part. Okay. Thesis. They did good or bad. One of those two. That's basically your thesis, right? The author argued this point. They did a good job. They didn't do a good job. Oh my gosh, reading tips again. Hey, Dan, if you want reading tips, go back in, I don't know exactly when in the video it was, but we were doing reading tips earlier. You can just watch that again later. We could maybe do a couple problems. We'll see. Maybe. We're going to do reading types instead. Maybe. Okay. Thesis. They did bad or they did good. And then you're going to say the way in which they did that, good or bad. Can we just make up evidence because they don't fact check? Yes, you can, but don't do that. It's probably not going to help you because they don't care. They will not give you credit for having evidence that's statistical or things like that. No, they're not going to fact check you, but it's not going to help your essay. They care about your ability to bring up valid points and then support those points conceptually, not with random garbage facts. Or should we just focus on the author's work. Okay. And then your support, you can have one paragraph, you can have two paragraphs, whatever. The author did this, the author did this. So they did this. It worked. Because, I'll write that out, because. And then you do that 2 more times, 3 more times, whatever you want to do. And then you conclude it at the end. Okay, so that's the general format here. Difference between some transition words. Oh yeah, transition words. That's nice. I like those. Those are fun. Okay. Thank you for the follow, Dan, by the way, and anybody else who may have missed. Okay, so intro, thesis. They did good, they did bad. Then support. We need to say they did this thing that did a good job supporting their point, or they tried to do this thing and they failed. Okay. I actually have never tried to write an essay where I say they did bad, because they generally give you an essay that does a pretty good job. Okay, would you recommend using rhetorical analysis for the essay? Yes, I don't think it's possible to not.
Isn't that what
So that's like a general term. So yes, you are analyzing the rhetoric of this essay. That by definition. I'm not making fun of that question. It's a valid question. But the way in which you want to do this rhetorical analysis is say, why did they do this thing and how did it help them? And what will help your score go up, aside from just having this general approach, ethos, pathos, logos, yes, I wouldn't necessarily name drop those words, because that's also not going to help you. The readers are reading lots of essays, and they don't care if you use those words. You have to use those words effectively. So as long as you know what they mean and you can give good examples of them doing that and why it would be effective, then go for it. But yes, that's generally what you want to do. It could be those things. You can, if you Google rhetorical devices SAT, there's a couple of sites that give you a bunch of examples of them, and memorize 10 of them, and you'll find some of them on whatever essay you're given. Now, here's the important part. Okay?
What?
I don't know, it was dumb. Yeah, I'll actually tell you.
Does that mean something?
I don't know. I was going to talk to you for a second.
What about the stream?
What about all the money?
Well,
that
I
we're not
got it
making?
on here.
You're playing solitaire right now?
I'm scared.
Oh my gosh, you're not scared. But
I'm
not
so
necessarily for
scared.
either. Should we do one paragraph for each of the three main types of rhetoric? Sure, you can, but I honestly do believe that it works, maybe, if you can support that stuff. I would recommend looking at the essay and see what did they do, okay? And this is where this star comes in. Audience.
You want to go in order of what the essay did, right?
Not necessarily. Audience, author, or speaker, or whomever. Relationship. Dot, 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 dot. Why did it, or why does it work? Should have done does. Okay, so if you have Julius Caesar talking to his Roman army?
Yes.
Julius Caesar talking to his Roman army right before they invade Japan or something. He's going to make a speech, and he's going to tell a story, right? And then you also have some science writer who's talking about football head injuries, and she's also going to tell a story. Those could both be whatever ethos, pathos, logos thing you want, but that's not what's going to get you the points. You're going to say, they told a story to do what? What work did that story do on their audience? Well, for Julius Caesar, he is talking to a bunch of Romans who care about their honor as Romans or men or whatever you want to say, right? So you say he told a story to bring their honor into question, right? He told the story about that would pump up their honor, whereas the science writer is going to tell a story that makes her more relatable to the average American who doesn't know the level of science. Hi, Momo is here. Run for your life. I'm not going to run. There's nowhere to go. We're just in a black box. Does this idea make sense? This is what's going to get you the higher points on here, because yes, you want to say they did a good job, they did a bad job. Obviously, don't write that word for word. And then you're going to say these are the ways they did it and why it worked in this particular relationship. Why did Julius Caesar tell this story versus the science writer talking to the average American or the average American high schooler or something like that? They do it for a reason because of that relationship. Okay? There is no minimum length for a good score. Don't write 4 sentences. Don't write 400 sentences. It is about getting these things done and putting it in this context. So you want to have an intro that says the author is arguing this point. They did a good job, or they successfully argued their point. They argued their point. They started off the essay with this. That got the audience hooked because the author asked a lot of questions, which played on, the author said students in high school should not study for the SAT ever again. And they started out with a provocative statement. They did a provocative statement that plays on the fears of parents of high school students who don't know what to do with their students' academic futures, or something like that, right? That is why they did it. It worked. It pulled people in, something like that, okay? Although that's not necessarily a reason why they're convincing, but that's a poor example now. Okay, I'm going to be done with the essay now. Also, for those of you who have gotten here recently, ask more questions. We can put them in the queue. We have a Discord. If someone can, if you do !Discord, you can see the Discord. You can go to there. In our stream or questions for stream channel on our Discord, you can post screenshots of math questions or writing questions that you've been working on. You have questions about those things, you can put them there. Okay, I know other things are important, but a page is too little,
yeah, more than a page.
Yeah, sure, more than a page. I mean, you have to get this stuff in. Do that.
It'll be more than a page.
It will be more than a page.
Yes, it will be.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff, man. Now, it is important to note that the essay is not factored into your composite. So certain schools do not require this score. Certain schools do, though. So you want to get this score. However, the important score for the most part is the composite, which is composed of your section scores, your math score, and your evidence-based reading and writing score.
Conclusion: no, it's not required. They do not require a specific format of essay because people learn how to write essays in different ways. They do require you to say, they ask a question, answer that question, and support your answer with evidence and put it in context and why they did those things, how it was effective.
I would say that a conclusion is a good idea.
It's a good idea, but you don't need a conclusion paragraph necessarily. You're not necessarily being graded on that. You are being graded on your ability to make a good point, and you want to open and close it well with good evidence.
Yeah, good openings and closings.
If you know what a conclusion is and you've written with conclusions before, do that again.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for that link, by the way.
Okay, so quadratic formula?
Yes. Who was asking about quadratic formula? Was it Arun? No, Arun asked systems. Who wanted quadratic formula?
Are you still here, whoever wanted the quadratic formula?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
what
just...
are traits of 24 scoring essays that you see commonly? You don't need to do it. Oh, we don't need to do the quadratic formula.
Thanks, All-Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then systems.
Yes. It's solving more complicated systems.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like a linear and a quadratic together?
I mean, perhaps.
Right.
No,
if you put it that way.
Okay, I'll put it right here. Okay, so let's say AB...
I like this already.
...equals...
This is terrible. This is not going well at all.
I know, I'm making it... Wait. Oh. Dude.
Dude, I'm just razzing you.
I'm losing so much money right now.
I'm razzing you.
You're razzing me.
You're being razzed by
I
me.
feel razzed
which is
on.
passive voice. Don't use passive voice, use active voice. Can I make something up?
No, I'm making it up.
Okay, keep going. Show me the Carfax. I gotta say, yeah. Hey, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. This template thing sounds like it's pretty great. I like this new slang, flex. I like it. It's a good idea. It's a very good idea. What does this equal, Levi? Okay, sorry. When you got systems, you got pretty much two ways to solve it, one of which might be disqualified by the type of system it is, okay? You've got elimination, and you've got substitution. Substitution. Ooh, jeez. Okay. Elimination you can do with linear equations when, if you put them on top of each other, something will cancel out, okay? So real quick, you might have something like this. 4x plus y is equal to 10. And then you've got something like, oh, I don't know, 3x minus y. Oh, I don't know, is equal to, 4, okay? Positive y and negative y will cancel.
3, my lord?
Absolutely not.
Right.
These will cancel out if you add everything together. You make this just a big equation, okay? The y's will be eliminated if you just add everything together. 4x plus 3x is 7x. Plus y minus y, they cancel out. That's the whole point of doing this. Is equal to 14. X is equal to 2. Fantastic. Throw it back into either equation. You'll find y. That's elimination. You can't use that here. because it doesn't look nice and pretty here. You've got your two variables stuck together. All right, that's a new one. So what you're forced to do is substitution. All right, which we could have used for this, but elimination was just faster. Let's go ahead and get that. Very good.
I got it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so the way that substitution works is you have to solve one of the equations for one of the variables. Doesn't matter which equation, doesn't matter which variable, just one of the equations for one of the variables. And for the sake of maximizing your efficiency, find the one that looks the easiest to solve for. What's up?
The question was hard ones.
Yeah, right here. That's what I'm doing.
Do you want me to do
Substitution. I don't know how to do it.
Do you know how to?
I'm going to solve this for B.
You're not
This is
the
very
self. You're
simple.
not yourself when you're
When I'm hungry?
ready.
What do you mean?
Oh.
I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Okay? I will have to figure out what all this is, so I have to distribute the 2. 2a minus 6 plus 1, and then we now have minus 3 is equal to b. That's for an very good, very good. Okay. All right, so I'm going to have 2a, and then I have minus 6 plus 1, minus 3, which is negative 9. Okay, it's going to be minus 8 is equal to b. Once you solve for one of the variables, you can substitute this into where that variable is in the other equation. That's what substitution is all about, okay? So we have a times b, but b is now going to be this, 2a minus 8. Minus 3 is equal to negative 11. You can see where this is going. This will turn into a quadratic. You're going to have to solve that with factoring, quadratic formula, or complete the square. But you finally get what a is equal to. Whatever that is, you plug it back into this equation. You can plug it back into either of your starting equations, but this one is the simplest one because it's already been solved for b. So plug a back into here, and you'll get b. The different kinds of options that will happen with equations here. Here's where we talk about it. Okay, we're talking about no solutions, one solution, infinite solutions.
Well, actually, first Arun asked about 3 equations.
Right.
So if you have 3 equations, it's the same thing. I wouldn't recommend doing elimination because it can get really difficult. Do substitution. If you have 3 equations and 3 variables, it's still the same thing. So if you have as many equations as you have variables, you will be able to solve for all of your variables. So if you have x equals y plus 2, and we have z equals x minus y, and we also have 2x plus 3y equals 4z. Now, I don't know if this is going to work out. It probably will. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to use substitution here. So I'm going to say, well, because we have x equals y plus 2, I'm going to plug in this x, or this stuff, for this x here. So now from that, we get z equals y plus 2 minus y. Oh, and this actually works out very well. The y's go away, and now we have z equals 2. So we have one answer. And then we can now put this z, let's see, where do we want to put the z? We could put the z back into here, actually. No, that doesn't help at all. What am I saying? Of course not. So you can work through it this way, where you are using substitution to eliminate variables. That's the idea. If you think about any equation manipulation, you are messing with the equation so that variables disappear, generally. So here we made x disappear, the y's actually disappeared without any work, and we got the answer to z. And now we can say, well, if z equals 2, then I could take maybe this equation. We know that x minus y equals 2 because it equals z, but z is 2. So now we're here. And then we also have, this probably won't work here. So that's not helpful. Put it into this one so we can solve for x. So we have x equals y plus 2. And we could take that and put it into this. So now we have 2 times y plus 2 plus 3y. We know what z is. It's 2, so this equals 8. And then we can solve for y here, eventually solve for x, and we have x, y, and z. So it's the same approach as normal substitution for 2 equations, 2 variables, but just with 3. So you have to do a little more work.
Can you use a calculator with CAS on the SAT?
Technically, no.
Yeah, if your calculator has CAS on it, then you can't use that calculator. So there's plenty of good graphing calculators that you can put programs on that don't have CAS, and those are okay. But calculators with CAS, not supposed to be good. You guys try to go over statistics and charts from athletes. Does that mean you don't think we can do it? And all you're giving us is the ability to try to do it?
We can do it.
We can do it.
Who are you? Come on.
Yes.
Can you?
Okay.
Why don't you?
What we should do. I don't want to get mad at you.
Very good. Let's talk about the options for what might happen with a system of equations. Because sometimes there might be no solution, sometimes there's one solution, sometimes there's an infinite solution. How is that possible? Well, remember here, linear equations represent lines graphically on the coordinate plane. Okay? So, the system to a solution are the intersection points of two lines. Graphically, that's what they are. So if you have some equation that defines that line and some equation that defines this line, your solution will be some coordinate x, y that is the intersection point of those two lines. Okay? So as long as these two lines intersect, you've got one solution. What might happen that gives you no solution? No intersection points. How is it possible for two lines to have no intersection points if they are the type of lines that never touch? Parallel lines.
Oh.
Okay? Absolutely. If your two lines are parallel, they will have no solution. How will two lines be parallel? Because they have the same slope. Okay? Two lines have the same slope. They'll never touch.
If they're lines that speak Hebrew, and
slope.
Slope.
Yeah,
Slope.
Exactly. Yeah, eat your matzah.
The slope would. I'll leave my matzah over
Very
here.
good. Very
Put
good.
some M&M.
So
have
two
you ever
lines-
had M&M matzah?
No.
It's like M&Ms but with matzah.
Right. I guess that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Explicitly says you can. Is that true? I might be wrong. I know in the ACT you're not allowed to use CAS, but maybe I'm hilariously wrong. Let's show you what
Unless
these
that
equations
changed
would look like.
Very recently, then no.
Right, all right. So if you have, let's say that you have something like this. You got 4x plus 5y is equal to 7, and it's something like ax plus 5y is equal to 10. And the question is, what must a equal so that they will have no solutions? Work backwards. No solutions means they're parallel. Parallel means they have the same slope. The only way these lines will have the same slope is if a is also 4. So this is also going to be 4x plus 5y. But because it has 10 instead of 7, they've got different y-intercepts.
What? The CAS is allowed? Okay.
Oh, everything we've ever told you? Yeah, that's a laugh. That's interesting. Okay. So you're allowed. Yeah, okay. So ACT is the one that I took, which is why I'm sorry. I'm sorry should we just stop the stream? What do you guys think? Should we stop the stream?
We should probably stop the stream.
We probably stop the stream.
Yeah, I also am pretty sure that we can't do what Bhavin wants us to do, which is because Bhavin wasn't sure we could do statistics and graphs and things. So,
Yeah.
Also, when I hear the name Bhavin, I think of goats, like Bhavin.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Isn't it
to a goat it makes sense.
bovine hormone? Isn't that like a cow thing?
Bovine.
Wait, press new
Yes.
messages. Press new messages.
I just want to. I haven't read them all yet.
Okay. Very good. Let me make that only one solution.
Dragon Slayer. That's mean.
Okay. So this here would mean there's no solutions because they're parallel. Okay. As long as two lines are not parallel, they have different slopes. They're going to touch. They're going to. Okay. So the question might be, what value makes these have no solution? Okay. As long as these things have a different slope, they're going to touch. How about infinite solutions? How is it possible that there's infinite number of points that two lines intersect? Well, great question. That happens when both lines are the same line. I'm not going to ruin the marker here, but let's imagine that one line was on top of the other one. That means that you have intersection points forever in that direction and that direction. They're the same line. What does that look like? It looks like this. Let's say we had 3x plus 7y is equal to 2, and we have 6x plus 14y is equal to 4. Look at that. The second line is just double the first line. Everything's been doubled. So if you just have everything, it turns back into that line, which means these are technically the same equation, which means they're going to be the same line. All right, this right here is infinite solutions. So when you see infinite solutions, your brain should recognize, oh, they're the same line. One of them is just probably a multiple of the other, okay? They are trying to help.
No way you pronounced my name right the first try. I was actually thinking your name was Behavin'.
Bhavin.
Like, you're misbehaving. Maybe that's why your name is
Misbehaving.
Yeah. You should review every problem on every practice you take. I'm assuming you know all the concepts. If that is not ever taking these 30 minutes, 20 questions.
Yeah, there's something there. There's definitely something there.
Yeah, there's something there.
You're onto something.
Most things are not there, but that's some of the things.
That's
that
some
are.
of the things.
They're there.
You're onto something.
Yeah, you're on some of them.
So, Arun, as long as this is not 4, these won't be parallel, which means they're going to intersect somewhere. But if it's 4, you know, you're kind of stuck.
Yes.
Yeah. You guys should also be able to tell by looking at this and doing a little bit of massaging what the slope of this line is, okay? It's not in slope-intercept form, so like I don't know off the top, I mean I do know, but this is not in slope-intercept form, which means none of these numbers represent the slope. You've got to solve for y, and then you'll be able to harvest. I always think of it as harvesting. Like you got to get ready, and then you harvest it. Harvest for the slope. So you got to find y here. I'm going to subtract 4x. So we have 5y is equal to negative 4x plus 10. Divide everything by 5, and you get y is equal to negative 4/5. Bing, bing, bing. Plus 2. Negative 4/5 is the slope. You got to solve it for y. So I can get an 800 on math in 19 days for just 3 easy payments of $19.95. Tell me more. That's a tough guarantee. 6,800 is less than 600 minus is greater than 800. Question mark. Very good. Levi, what are we doing next? Reading types?
No, let's not do that.
Oh.
Let's do transitions.
I thought you loved reading types.
I don't.
I hate this thing.
Tips.
Like you gotta really.
What?
It doesn't give you good squirts. Here we
Oh,
go.
well, dude,
What?
it's voice activated.
It's voice activated.
It's voice activated.
Okay.
You know what's also voice activated?
What?
Sleeping people.
Like if you want to sleep a person?
No, like they're sleeping. They're a person, they're sleeping.
Right.
And you activate them by talking to them.
That's
Like, wake up!
that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
But if you
might
say
be
the
on
wrong
the
thing,
SAT.
like stay sleeping, they'll continue to sleep.
Right.
You gotta give them the right command.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good. What do you got here?
What's going on?
This looks like a nice little review.
Okay.
I went from a 700 to an 800 in 5 days. And you can too. With my
we're-
free workout program. Rex Kwanda. Slap the wrist, walk away. Slap the wrist, walk away.
Sorry about the very slow speed at which we are doing this.
And the outdated movie references that you guys are probably too young to recognize. Rex Kwanda. You can sign up for my 6-week program.
Okay.
What are people asking? We don't care about your scores, bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
Okay.
Guys, this is a forum to tell everyone else what scores you got, and then they'll tell you what scores they got, and then we all just kind of sit here and look at each other.
And that
Is
how we study.
Is how we study.
Right, that's
exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I went yeah.
Well, no, if you just kind of like, I think if you eat someone, so like you know, it's cannibalism, sure, but if you eat someone that got a really high score,
sure.
then you'll get that score.
Are we missing every other page?
I sure hope not. That'd be a disaster. You know, I thought I went through the math section very quickly. I was a little confused.
I am under the impression
Yeah, we're missing every other page.
other page.
Right. We gotta fix this. Why
That's
is it so slow?
so much better that way, though.
Why
that
is it
way
so
we don't
slow?
have access to as much material.
Yeah, right. So we really don't have to take the SAT.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Was that
There
no?
we go.
I
No,
want
no,
to-
press
I
a new
want
message.
To do it.
No, I'm here to cram. You're in the right place. This is the place to cram. Cram.
Weird cram, bro. Sorry, first time on a chat like this. LOL. Didn't mean to be a cringy, weird flex. Nah.
You're fine, you're
Don't worry.
fine.
Just flex a little bit harder. Break through to the other side. Everybody will think it's not weird.
I've been
cringy.
flexing my muscles this entire stream.
Yes, and you
Yes.
have noticed.
Yep.
You
You see
actually defecated on the floor.
Well, you gotta flex everything.
Yeah, that's why it's so soft here.
It's
nice.
very soft.
It's very soft.
Very soft.
Anyway.
Very good.
Okay.
They're doing so well right now.
They're doing very well. Your
Yes.
scores are going up as we speak.
Right now,
Okay,
especially.
right here.
Yeah.
Right
If
now.
there's a graph of like over time during our stream, right now it'd be peaking. Just how fast their scores are going up.
Peaking.
Yes.
Like Alta Ipsum. Peaking
Just
yourself.
like okay, very
Right?
good. Yes.
Like the peaking. Anyway. This. Hey, Bird.
What?
Can you do the
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
What do
you.
you want?
I want you to scroll. If you can do it.
Got it.
Okay, any tips for math? No. So, we are dealing with transition words. Okay, the way to approach these problems, I'm not saying they're hard. You understand what's going on, right? It's which transition makes the most sense in the passage. It does not mean...
dish. Oh gosh. N4 dish. Excellent. Big fans. Yes, you can use programs. They're great. Get them.
For math, writing, Khan Academy is fine, but for reading, do not do it. Yes, you can. Okay, this thing. I forget who asked about transition questions, but these are not necessarily hard questions. Of course, you know how to do them. You can say, okay, well, does however work here? Does in addition work here? Does likewise work here? Yes, you can do that. That's not the most effective way to do it, and it's not the best way to not make simple mistakes on this part. You can do this very quickly. You need to identify the two ideas that you're connecting. Do that first, and then figure out what relationship those ideas have, and then figure it out. Because you know that however and in addition do not do the same thing. However implies contrast. In addition implies another thing on top of the previous thing, so those two things are at the same level, and they don't necessarily agree even or disagree. It's just not that thing. Likewise means like the first thing, and then A, no change. Where are we? 17. For instance is an example of something. So those are two different levels of things. One is general, one is an example. So let's figure out what the two ideas are. Generally, these words are between the two ideas. Sometimes, if the underlined portion is in the middle of a sentence, that whole sentence is often the second idea, and the first idea is the previous sentence. Just be careful of that. Okay, so here, let's figure out our two ideas, and then we'll move on to that stuff that Bhavin swore we couldn't do, but we can do it. We can talk about standard deviation.
Nerdy man. Here we go. Right?
Yep, we're ready.
Well done, nerdy men! Well done!
So our first idea here, let's start at the beginning of the paragraph, which is, although advocates of organic food maintain that organic produce is healthier than conventionally grown produce because it has vitamins and minerals, this assertion is not supported by scientific research. For example, one review published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition provided analysis of the results of comparative studies and found no evidence that organic crops are more nutritious than conventionally grown ones. Okay, so we have this big idea. This assertion is not supported by scientific research. And then we have scientific research. Okay, therefore this scientific research will probably be agreeing with this idea. Like, here's the idea, scientific research doesn't support it. For example, here's the thing. I actually like for example. That makes sense. We have the first idea is scientific research doesn't support it. And then we have a specific review. So we went from general to specific, which means, for instance, works super well. However, it doesn't necessarily work. There is contrast here, which can throw some people off, but the contrast exists in the first idea, not between the first and second ideas. And then in addition doesn't make sense because it's not part of a list of things. And then likewise doesn't make sense because, again, they're not on the same plane. You need to think, I think about these questions as planes. Is it a contrast or a similarity between two things that are comparable in the first place? Or are you going from general to specific, or are you going from specific to general? All of those things can be happening. Okay.
Okay, I heard the March school day is pretty easy. Did you hear yourself say that? I don't know why I said that. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Thanks for the follow, T-Poop. Nope, sorry. T-Loop. We'll go with T-Loop. Whatever. Let's pull... Thank you for the follow, White Lighten. White Lighten? That's my mother's name. Why is it not working, Bird? Oh, it's working now. Don't worry. Okay. Da-da-da. What are we doing now? Statistics and graphs. Hey, how many of you people know all about the standard deviation and how it needs to be dealt with on this test? Anybody? Any ideas? Thoughts? Thank you for the follow, Chess Grandmaster. What have you been doing since you got here? Is the test tomorrow likely to have the recent SAT pattern? Essay, test, harsh curve. Sure, maybe. Honestly, I find that people are focusing on the wrong things. You start trying to find things that you have some fuller semblance of understanding, and honestly, we can't tell you that it's going to be the same. If you want to believe it's going to be the same or totally different because that gives you a sense of control over the test,
go for it. But your control has to come from your preparation, not from numbers that other people say. And you have 6 people on the internet who say, hey, it's going to be the same. Whatever. Take the test.
Yeah, the curves are not determined by like the people you take the test with. They don't like get all the data and then afterward assemble the curve. The curve is decided upon before by them doing sampling of those questions beforehand. So they know what the curve is going to be before everyone takes the test. Otherwise, it'd be like unfair. If you took the test in the fall, you'd be taking it with seniors, which would make it more difficult to get a good score. And in the spring, they'd be gone. So that would be a wrong way to do it.
Very wrong.
The curve. Yeah, so the curve is how they determine your actual score from your raw score. The raw score is the amount of questions you got right on each section.
The number of questions you got right in each section.
What did I say, the amount?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm mad at me, not you, don't worry.
Okay.
And then
I'm mad at you too.
there is a great.
Yeah.
There is a conversion between the raw score and your scaled score. And your scaled score is what you actually end up seeing on your score report. So sometimes tests are a little bit harder than previous tests. And chances are kids are going to get more questions wrong. So it would be unfair, because it's a harder test, to give you the same score that you would have gotten on a previous test had you got that number of questions wrong. Therefore, they determine a curve beforehand that tries to normalize that so that you could have sat for a SAT with whatever current knowledge you have and abilities anytime, any SAT for the past, 15 years, hopefully, and you would get the same scaled score. Even though you get different numbers of questions wrong on each one, your ability would be reflected in the score itself. Now, previously, the past couple tests have had some curves that seemed a little more extreme than they've been in the past, which is why people are getting upset, because they may have gotten more questions right than they did on the last test, but their score didn't go up as much as they thought, or it went slightly down or something like that. Yeah, that can be frustrating. The curve is, I think SAT is, they're aware. The curve is still supposed to be somewhat, of normalizing, but it has been more erratic, and the curve has been like a stronger up or down curve recently. So hopefully they can bring it back to something that's a little more like normal to what it's been. Yes.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, we have a little more than 10 minutes left. I'm on YouTube and stuff, and I can't seem to find one for the whatever. Okay. Standard deviation. No, you do not need to know the formula for standard deviation. I would recommend understanding what it is conceptually. It is a measure of how far. It's a single number that represents the general idea of the general distance of each of the elements in your data set. That distance from the mean of the data set, or the average. So this right here, all of these have an average of 3, right? Clearly it's 3 here, it's 3 here because we have 1s and 5s, and the average here is also the same thing. But standard deviation is different for all of these. In this one, you don't have to be able to figure it out, but it makes sense. The standard deviation is 0. As a standard, how much do these things deviate from 3? Deviation means how much do we, do we deviate from the norm, right? How far away are we? Clearly, nothing deviates from the average. So the standard deviation for this guy is 0. This is a little bit bigger because we have 1s and 5s. This one is even bigger than that because we have -1s and 7s. They have the same average, but smallest to largest standard deviation. Okay, that's how standard deviation changes. So, Bhavin, graphically, if you have a graph, and now let's say they have the same average. It doesn't have to be the same average, but let's say that you have a data set that looks like this, and then you have a data set that, and let's say the same x and y axes and things like that. You have a data set that looks like this. Which one has a larger standard deviation? Who's N Fordish? Is that some other person that we actually know?
No, I don't know if we know them.
Okay. Hey, N Fordish, do we know you, or do you know us? Okay. This has a smaller standard deviation. This has a larger standard deviation because ostensibly, the average is probably here, and here, since it seems like the opposite of a normal distribution, we also have the average somewhere in the middle, because it seems like there's an equal number of stuff on both sides. So this one's clearly going to be a bigger standard deviation because there are more numbers that are farther away from the average. So the farther things are from the average of the data set, the larger the standard deviation will be. Okay. Thank you for this, Chess Grandmaster. I will not read that, but everybody else should. Okay, I think 1. Okay. Bob, and I apologize. I have no idea which one is 1. If you think this is a larger standard deviation, then no. But we just talked about that. So this is standard deviation. Now, let's talk about how statistics change when you change a data set. So let's say that we have a bunch of test scores, and they're 91, and let's say there's a 70, and there's a 91, and there's a 91, and there's a 92, and there's a 93, and there's a 94, and there's a 95, and there's a 95, and a 95, and a 95. This is an easy test, clearly. So this is your group of elements. You got it. Very good, Bobbin. Very good. You've done very well. Okay. Now, here. Let's say, so this is going to have some average, which is going to be somewhere in the low 90s, right? And it's going to have some standard deviation, which is going to, we don't have to know what it is. And it's going to have some mode, which is going to be 95, because that's the most common number. And it's going to have some range, which will be 25 between the minimum, which is 70, and the maximum, which is 95. Now, let's talk about what happens if we add a number in. You know what? I'm actually going to change. I'm going to get rid of 70. I'm going to make this 90. Let's add something to the data set. If we add the number 65, so somebody got a 65 on this test, which of the following, so we have mean, median, mode, standard deviation, and range. Which of the following will change the most if we add a 65? And which will change the least? So let's basically just go through them here. Can you do after sentence? Oh, yeah, so sentence organization, yes. We can. The range, yes, the range will change the most. That makes sense. You don't think about range that much because it's pretty simple. Standard deviation won't change too much because things like mean and standard deviation and median, they don't take into account outliers too much because the mean, it takes into account how many of these things there are. So there are so many of them that the 65 just won't have that big of an impact. Now, if you have 3 numbers, I think it just got darker in here. I'm going to fix this. Brady.
Levi.
Everything is broken.
You can't say things like that.
Uh-oh, wait, Brady, actually it is kind of falling apart.
Oh, God.
Everything's fine.
You want me to get tape?
Yes.
You want me to do this?
I want you to get tape. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. But the box is falling upon us.
Well, you gotta say that for mom and dad, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise the kids get really scared.
I think you just tape up the middle. It should be okay for tonight. Sorry. Okay. So, the mean is not going to change too much. The median is also not going to change too much because the median, if you have an outlier, the median is just crossing off either end when you're lined up in ascending order. So the median just doesn't respond to outliers basically at all. The mode doesn't respond to outliers because the mode is going to be 95 until you get enough of an outlier, and then it's not really an outlier, and that would be the most common. Okay, we're good. It's fine for now.
All the money.
There's no money up there.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. The template I got from the internet, am I allowed to use it if someone else used that, or is that plagiarism? I don't think so. Okay, I can get in trouble for my opinion on this. Is my opinion. I doubt it's plagiarism, seeing as it's a template. So you're putting in your own stuff. I would, yeah, I think there might be copyright issues, but possibly, but because you're using somebody else's material without paying for it, maybe. But I don't think it's plagiarism. Unless it's, I didn't read how many words were not yours. Don't use other people's words. Other people's structures, sure, that's fine. Okay, so Fordish, just so you know, that sentence doesn't make sense grammatically because you have used me instead of the word I. I is a subject. You need a subject to do the active verb in a sentence, not an object, which is what me is. Okay. Yeah, I don't. It's not going to be penalized. Yeah, you're right. So the standard deviation won't change too much. The range will change a lot. The mode won't change at all. The median will barely change probably. The mean will change a little bit. Does anybody have any questions on this? We want to think as logically as possible about how changing data sets will affect their statistical things. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this or other things? We can hop into sentence organization now. Brady, can you help me erase, actually?
It is 10:26.
It's 10:26, so we're done pretty soon.
You guys also should be getting some sleep soon. Any tips for the essay? We talked about the essay earlier tonight in the stream, so after this is over, you can just start it back up and watch when we talked about that.
Yeah, Osiris, I was talking about it here. I think I was writing in pink, so that's not super helpful. And I wrote a little outline-y type of thing in this area of the board if you want to scrub through and find that. Okay.
Yes.
Standard deviation formula. Just curious. I think it's the square root of the sum of the sum of the squares of the differences of every element in the set and the average. So you can also look it up.
You don't need to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do sentence organization questions. I honestly do not know if we'll be able to find one because I messed this up somehow and we don't actually have the whole test, which is dumb. Well, it seems we do. Okay, does this work? 27. Sorta, kinda.
You're doing great work.
Nope.
Hey, Levi.
That's not gonna work. Yes.
My back hurts.
Your back hurts?
Yeah.
Can you take it out?
I think so. Do
Take
some
it
work on it. Put it back in.
Yep.
That's fair.
Okay. Sorry. That's so frustrating.
What happened?
I told you what happened. We don't have all the pages.
You told me what happened.
I thought I had it. Yep. Okay. So I'm not going to be particularly helpful here. I don't know if we can answer this question, but this is how I would recommend approaching these sentence organization questions. I'm going to do this. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Sentence 27, not sentence 27, this sentence in numbers 27. To improve the cohesion and flow of this paragraph, the writer wants to add the following sentence. This should logically be placed where? Okay, sure. All right. This is how I'd recommend doing these questions. Yes, you can just put it in and see where it feels nice, but don't do that. You should read the sentence and then identify clues in that sentence and then specifically tell yourself what you think needs to come before, what you think might come after, and then read the paragraph to see where you want to place it, okay? And do that because it makes you more actively aware of stuff. So let's read the sentence. Data gathering proved to be the quick part of the project. Okay. Okay. What do we need before this? We need what project it is, right? Project tells us that we're referencing a project. We have to have introduced that project beforehand. We know that. That's pretty obvious. And then data gathering proved to be the quick part. Well, this seems to be a little bit ominous, the quick part. So maybe there was a slow part. My guess would be it's after this. Okay? Look for those clues. If you actively do that, it will help enormously.
Can we not show them sentences 1 through? Are they from
No,
the
the
missing
previous
page?
page is
Oh,
not
jeez.
there, which is very annoying.
That's okay, man.
Yeah. But if we're just looking at sentence 5 here, we say, because this paragraph goes from the previous page. We don't have that because it's my fault, probably. The work that dictionary founder Frederick, this guy, had expected to be finished by 76 was not, in fact, completed in his lifetime. That's the slow thing. So that's going to come after this sentence, which means that D is probably wrong. Oh, wait, no, this is after sentence 5. Yeah, so you wouldn't want to put this sentence here after 5. And a heavy rainstorm. Yeah, I have no idea what the sentence is about. Yeah, so it'll be one of the first three. I apologize for not having the previous page.
Absolutely. I think it's probably going to be after sentence 4. Maybe, but we'd have to see the other sentences.
I like to notice there's a sentence organization question to begin, and then do that one first. Well, I don't understand what's happening.
You'd have to read the whole passage or the whole paragraph to be able to know where it fits. So, like, if you're going to try to figure out where that sentence goes, you can't do it immediately without first knowing what the paragraph is about and what all the other sentences are. How do you get through really boring passages? No problem. Your idea is good, and I'll try it. At Neudish. Very good. Without falling asleep, the science one's last. Put on a heavy Russian accent. You'll be
Yes, but Russians, they read very slowly when reading English.
Yes, but
So
they're very
that might-
fast when they read Russian.
Yes, which is unrelated to this problem.
If we should probably try to
Thanks
steer
for follow.
away from saying things about people from certain countries.
Yes.
I think in general, if you grew up speaking a different language and reading another language, it's probably easier for you to speak and read that language than a new language that you're introduced to when you're older, right?
It's a very American thing to say.
I feel like that's valid. I don't know.
I see that you feel that way.
Right, and I definitely don't think that, but I feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you not get bored, Levi? You got a good one about this.
Think about other really boring things and then get really happy about how awesome this thing is. Otherwise, you can do other things, like make it a game. So if you're not having a good time reading, treat it like when you go to English class and you were supposed to read the book or the passage or whatever, and you didn't, and then you're having a conversation about it, and then the other people in class are saying things, and then you're going to be the schmuck that says, going off with what she said, and then you repeat what that person said, right? But just in your own words. Do that type of thing. It's a logic puzzle. So you're gonna, read a little bit more quickly. Try to piece together what's happening. This test is very, very nitpicky. So it's not so much that any of the questions are going to give you information you didn't have before. They're going to be referencing information that's there, just generally in the wrong way. So read for the flow of the passage and where things are. Make a logical picture in your head of where things are, what they're generally arguing, how they piece together those things, and then go to the questions. Okay? Make it a logic puzzle. It will be a little bit more engaging rather than you trying to read quickly something that's tedious and then getting bored and lost. You don't have to appreciate the entirety of the passage before doing the questions. Appreciate what's going on, what it's talking about, know where things are, and then you can read it closely for the first time on a question-by-question basis, which is a little bit more of a mathematical approach.
Also, you will be less prone to getting bored if you have a nice night's sleep and a nice thick breakfast, and also bring snacks, get up during all the breaks, walk around, even if you're out of the bathroom, you still got to get up and do stuff. And speaking of getting enough sleep, it might be that time.
It might be that time. Okay, so we're going to go, because it is that time.
Mm-hmm.
That time where we go.
We're going to go commiserate about the birthday parties we didn't go to.
Yes.
They might have given out goodie bags. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Would you recommend reading the passage if you don't understand anything? A nice big journal shot to keep your heart rate up. Well, we'll see. It depends how your timing works, because you might be sacrificing getting to passages later on. But I would say you probably have, there's a historical passage typically that's like difficult to read because the language is very dated. Do that last. Try to do the passages that you will do the fastest because they're the easiest first. Wow, I have space to go in here. Yes, so there's definitely a strategy which is affecting you, that you get to choose which passages look the friendliest and proceed until you get to the passages that look the evilest and craziest. You guys are going to be fine. You guys are going to be so good. Yeah, do not shoot for a specific score. Shoot to beat your old score. If you haven't taken it yet, that's impossible to do. But your whole goal here is you're beating yourself, okay? There are lots of different scores to get. You're just trying to 1,600 or nothing. Yeah, that kind of attitude makes people very upset when they get nothing because it's not a 1,600.
amount of people that get 1600s it's such a small percentile. It's like that is not an expectation that any reasonable human should ever have of themselves. Tell the proctor to cancel your test. Yeah, one single problem. No, actually, no, that's a good thing to bring up. Yeah, if a section's not going well, pick yourself up after, go to the next section with a clear mind and an open heart and a glisten in your eye. Exactly. Because there might be a college that accepts a super score, in which case, do they do that with the SAT? I'm pretty sure they do, right? Yeah, maybe. In which case, the other section score might be very good. Okay, so do not let a couple problems somewhere in the test start to pull you down. The test is designed to be very difficult. Okay, that's why so few people get a perfect score. Because if it was easier, more people would get perfect scores.
Yes, and most of you are designed to not get a perfect score on the test.
Exactly, that's the whole point of the test.
That's how you are designed.
So the worst thing you can do is get really scared when you get a couple that you're not sure about. That's designed to be there. So just you're trying to just pick off all the ones that you can do in the time that you have.
I don't know if that's a cancel or not. You could Google it. Okay. The civil rights passages are always hard to read. Yeah, the old Englishy type ones. Yes, they are hard to read. I would leave them to last. That's what I would do. And any sentence that you read, work through it. It is just harder. It is just harder. And tonight, you're not going to become a better reader. But if you do have time and you're taking the test again, I would recommend reading articles that are relatively high level. They can be news articles that are current. That's fine. But reading harder things is a good idea. If you like fantasy novels, read those. They give you old Englishy words that work super well. That's actually why the reading on the SAT was so easy for me when I did it, because I was a big nerd and I read a bunch of dragon magic related books, and you know it helped a lot.
You still are.
Yeah.
You're still reading dragon magic books.
Dragon magic.
So none of this past tense thing.
Oh,
I was thinking to read Narnia.
Yes, read all of that before tomorrow. You will get a perfect score. Jay, what's up? Yes, lots of people cramming today. For those of you who are cramming today and you are taking the test in the future as well, not just tomorrow, come back. We do this Tuesday through Thursday, 8 to 9:30 p.m. on Eastern time, because it's good to work just a little bit more right before the test. That's fine. Don't lose sleep over it. Don't freak out over it. If it's doing that to you, go to bed right now. We're also doing that anyway. But we'll be back 3 days a week. So you should tune in, ask your questions.
If you guys want to see something good, just to brighten your spirits, go to YouTube and type in "What Do You Mean?" featuring Mr. Tumnus. It's like the Justin Bieber music video, but there's something that's added that I made that I think is really fun. If you like Chronicles of Narnia, because they made a movie and there's a character named Mr. Tumnus. I should write that down on the board. So
no, come on.
I want more views on that.
Oh my gosh, there's
200
views?
It's not enough. It's worth way more. Feet, Mr. Tumnus.
March 27th is what day of the year?
This is what you want to look up in YouTube. Trust me.
15 days.
You'll get a better score because of it.
No, we're not going to do a cram session next Friday. Or whatever Friday that would be. We are only doing the
Saturday ones.
Yeah, the Saturday non-school ones. Thank you for the thank you for all the follows, everybody. That's good.
You guys are the real legends.
Yeah, you're all the real
the real
the real Yes.
Very good.
Okay. Have a lovely night. Also, for those of you who are in the Discord, you can ask us questions in Discord, on a daily basis when we're not streaming, and we'll maybe get to them. But ideally, we're doing it during this time, 8 to 9:30, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every week. Yes. Have a lovely night, everybody. Good luck on the test for those of you who are taking it. Sleep well, eat well, run around during breaks, be comfortable.
But just honestly, let go and enjoy the ride. It's a ride. Let go and enjoy it. All right.
Have a lovely night, everybody.
Good night. Press stop streaming.
I'm gonna do it.
Go to the left. Go to the left.
I'm going to the left.
No. You're going to the right. Go to the left.
I thought you meant their left.
No, our left. Press stop.
Okay.
You can always.
Good night, everybody.
You can do it on that.